last night was a rough one for the green and gold. Sonny Gray was dominant, but the bullpen could not hold the lead. And when it was all said and done, the A's dropped another one in dramatic fashion as Logan Morrison hit a first pitch fastball into the seats, walking off in the 11th inning. Tonight, Jesse Hahn gets the ball and will love to help out that bullpen by going deep into the game. It's game 2 of the series. A's Mariners next. Beautiful night for baseball in Seattle. We are at Safeco Field, and for the A's, it's Game 9 of the 10-game road trip. Starting pitching tonight, it's J.A. Happ, the lefty for Seattle, and the rookie Jesse Hahn will pitch for the Athletics. A's trying to bounce back after losing in walk-off fashion last night. A's Mariners, Game 2 coming up on Comcast Sportsnet, California. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Oakland A's Baseball, along with Ray Fosse. I'm Glenn Kuiper. Well, Jesse Hahn tonight, he's hoping to pitch deep into the game, and Ray, J.A. Happ has become very important now because kind of the inconsistencies of the young starters for Seattle.
Well, Jesse Hahn pitched very well against the Mariners before the blister developed on the middle finger on his throwing hand. He had pitched very well. Unfortunately, there was an error, 4 runs in an inning, only 1 earned in that game. No decision for him, and as far as Happ is concerned, he's the pitcher that Lloyd McClendon, the manager, said he's going to be in the rotation. No matter what happens, he's in the rotation, and I think they're very happy that he is because he has been pitching well. He's a lefty kind of in the middle of a couple of righties. We'll see Felix tomorrow, but he's right in the middle doing a pretty good job as well.
Well, extra innings last night, that means a battle of the bullpens, and quite frankly, it was a battle that was won by the Mariners bullpen.
And, you know, the Mariners have been struggling, but last night that was not the case because they did a great job. Look at the numbers. 6 innings, the A's just 1 hit in those 6 innings against the Mariners bullpen. They did a great job, especially this one, as Billy Butler said, that guy, Carson Smith, is pretty nasty as he's throwing the slider. But the A's bullpen, they had a 2-run lead. Unfortunately, it disappeared very quickly. There was one. The biggest one was this one against Fernando Abad, a breaking ball to Robinson Cano, who actually called Abad after. He said, I don't know how I hit that. Well, I think we know. And this, of course, the game winner, Logan Morrison, 1 pitch, a no-doubter, right center, the walk-off. And, of course, the ball club had a couple of walk-offs against them. At Anaheim, they turned the tables on the Athletics last night at a game winner for the Mariners in the opener of the series, a game really that the A's should have won.
And I think both managers are really looking for their starting pitchers to go deep in the game. There was a combined 11 relievers used in last night's Mariners win. Now, when we come back, we'll get a sports update from the guys in the A's pregame live studios, and then after that, back to beautiful Safeco Field for Game 2 of the series.
is brought to you. What's in California is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. By Toyota, #1 in MPG, durability, and resale value. Toyota, let's go places. And by DraftKings.com. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com with the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Enter promo code SLIDER for free entry.
Big crowd tonight here at Safeco Field. The bobblehead, the giveaway tonight is the Endo Rodney bobblehead. So that's part of the big crowd, over 35,000 expected. Let's check the game time weather for tonight. It's presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Admissions free. Visit online for park hours at beachboardwalk.com. Nice night, 77 degrees. And not a cloud in the sky again. And it's an earlier start. Hour earlier on a Saturday night here in Seattle. Lineup tonight for your Oakland A's. It has Coco Crisp, Marcus Semien, Josh Reddick, Billy Butler. Mark Canha gets to start at first, and Laurie, Fegley, Burns, Sogard. So a lot of right-handed hitters in there, except for Reddick.
And J.A. Happ, who pitched against the Athletics and then opening homestand, pitched well, just 3 hits in the first 6 innings, and pitched well. And the 3 hits came in 1 inning. Unfortunately, Billy Butler was on second, could not score on a base hit, and got out of the jam and ended up getting a no decision. The A's did have the lead, but ended up losing it late and losing in extra innings, unfortunately. Pretty good fastball from the left-hander, but like you said, Kai, a lot of righties in to face him.
Coco drives the first one to left, but right at Seth Smith. And Smith has it. So 1 pitch, 1 out here in the first inning. Defense for the Mariners. You saw Smith in left, Ackley in center, Cruz in right, and Seager, Taylor, Cano, Morrison on the infield, and Mike Zunino behind the plate. That start you were talking about, Ray, was the matchup against Sonny Gray.
Yeah. Game that he gave up, Sonny did, just a home run, but it was Fernando Abad, unfortunately, after a home run on an appeal play that was hit by Cruz, and then Abad gave up a hit to a lefty in the extra inning. So again, one of those games that the A's had won, but the bullpen let them down, and try to get the bullpen on track, and I think it's a matter of time before that will happen.
Good swing by Semien, fouls it straight back. Happ has not pitched a lot against the A's, but when he has, he's been good. 3 career starts, in the ERA 1.33. 2 of those starts coming when he was with the Blue Jays, and then the one earlier this year. I remember him pitching a game against the A's, a day game in Toronto just a couple years ago, and he was very, very good.
Very good, exactly.
Happ last year won 11 games, made 26 starts for the Blue Jays, and traded for Michael Saunders, now with Seattle. Bounced over the head of Happ. Taylor throws, not in time. So Semien showing that good speed. He beats it out.
Well, and very quickly, Lloyd McClendon, top step on the warning track. They're going to check it out, because anytime there's a close play, they're going to usually challenge, maybe, but Lloyd McClendon said, nope, I want to sit back down because it's not worthy of a challenge. The second hitter of the game, and that's the reason. Inconclusive. Excellent hustle by Marcus Semien over the head of Happ and hit the front of the bag, which is always important. Morrison trying to reach out as quickly as possible, but I don't know that you could always say tie goes to the runner, but that case it was not going to be challenged.
So the A's with a first inning base runner. Remember, in last night's game, the A's had one hit in the final 6 innings. So Marcus Semien gets an infield hit here in the first. His 8th infield hit this year. So 0-1 to Reddick.
The original lineup had Billy Burns hitting second, Semien down in the bottom, but at least the lineup that was first sent out by the Mariners, you probably got it on phone as well, and then they made some changes, but Billy Burns down at the bottom of the order, hitting 8th with Sogard 9th.
Reddick had the home run last night, 2-run shot that gave the A's a 3-1 lead at the time. Five homers, 22 RBIs for Reddick. Right off the end of the bat, and he hit this ball a long ways last night.
I mean, he was not trying either, just trying to make good contact, and he smoked the ball off Taijuan Walker to right center field. Like Logan Morrison's in the extra inning, this one gave the A's a 3-1 lead. Morrison's a little bit deeper, but still very, very good distance for both of them.
0-2 pitch with the runner going. Throw to second base is high, and Semien has the steal. Pitch called the ball.
Well, Zunino, not much of a chance, and of course, anytime a lefty pitches and high leg kick, and you go the first move, high quick throw by Zunino, was not a bad pitch. Reddick might have been ejected if he had been called out on that one, but it was close. It was called the ball, fortunately, because of the home plate umpire, and Reddick has a runner in scoring position.
Fastball 94 miles an hour, and Reddick swings through it. So 2 outs here in the first inning.
Now Reddick looking up at the jumbo board. There's the stolen base totals for Marcus Semien. And you figure Happ's on the mound, and if Jesse Hahn has his good pitches working, ground ball pitcher, it could be one of those games that run or two could be the difference. And Semien getting in a scoring position, trying to score. Now with Billy Butler at the plate.
A's last night were 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Butler had one of those 2 hits.
You know, one of those, the thing that Billy Butler's been doing, hitting the ball to the right side, all of a sudden now Robinson Cano cheating a little bit more towards and knocking out some of that hole. So not as big a hole as we have seen with Billy Butler hitting on the right side. So that's kind of a change as this season progressed. You see how close Logan Morrison and Cano are playing, kind of clogging up the right side. But Billy Butler, Cap, I think as we look out, you'll see a straight up complete center field, left field, right, everybody infield. That's the ability of Billy Butler to use the whole field.
Good swing there, fouls it straight back to the screen.
Josh Reddick talked about how the defense has changed against him as far as not so much a shift anymore, and he says it's kind of normal now. You can look out and see guys playing normal position, and Billy Butler the same way with this alignment by the Mariners.
Semien not being held on at second. There's a strike. Phil Cuzzy is your home plate umpire. Butler didn't like it.
Now Billy Butler's got a pretty good eye, and for him to disagree, Zunino, of course, watch him bring the ball up. That is not something that you look at as an umpire, because he brings it up about 6 inches, and umpires will call the ball as it crosses the plate. And you never like to see them being influenced by a catcher moving the glove that much, especially on a low fastball.
Your umpires, Jerry Davis is the crew chief, and he's at second base. Two pitch, foul back, right side, second level.
You know, after Tony Randazzo got hit last night, it's good to see him back at third. The way he was manipulating his jaw, took a shot off the face mask, and you can see the close-up shot that our crew had, that he is
moving his jaws, so maybe he just didn't have anything to eat today.
Or he couldn't.
Maybe.
We're glad to see that he's
back on the
there.
lease. Put the umpires in before the game today. I said, I just wonder if he's going to make it, because it's a question.
Swing and a miss. Ball trickles away. Zunino goes after it, and Butler's going to be aboard as Zunino throws it, and Morrison has to block it. So it'll be a strikeout, but a wild pitch, and Butler's aboard with Simeon now at third.
A little bit of a chuckle because this ball in the dirt, and Billy Butler didn't know where it was, and he starts to run, and Zunino runs all the way to the warning track, all the way near his dugout, and still thinks, hey, it's Billy Butler, I got a chance. And he throws anyway. And Butler getting down the line, I'm surprised Zunino threw it, because Morrison did a good job of blocking the low throw. Now, Billy, not the fastest there is, but at least able to get to first on this wild pitch.
So first and third, and here's Canna. So the inning continues, and the A's will try to take advantage of that wild pitch. Canna playing first base in place of Ike Davis tonight. Canna pinch hit last night and then stayed in the game. He was 0 for 2. Outfield pulled around to left center for Canna, and that one hit to right. Shallow. Cruz coming in. Cruz on the move, and he makes the catch. Side retired. A Strand 2, bottom of the first. Coming up, no score. On, and the lineup is exactly like last night. Smith, Miller, Cano, Cruz, Seager, Morrison, Zunino, Ackley, and Taylor.
And for Jesse Hahn, his second start as a member of the Athletics came against these Mariners at the Coliseum, 5 2/3 innings. It was a game in which the Mariners won in 10 innings, but Jesse, of course, coming off the blister in his game against the Royals on the 18th. So he had 11 days between the third and fourth starts, and then, of course, in the normal turn, his last start at Minnesota, and same tonight. So hopefully he can get back to the ground ball pitcher that he was prior to the blister on his middle finger. As he said, more strikeouts means the ball's not sinking, and that's not the type of pitcher I want to be. That's it. So maybe that's a good beginning for him.
Smith hitting .247, a couple of home runs. He was in the leadoff spot last night, and he was 1 for 5. Struck out a couple of times. And the Mariners looking for a leadoff hitter with Austin Jackson on the disabled list. It's an ankle injury for Austin Jackson, but it sounds like he will be back when the 15 days is up.
It actually seemed to be one of the situations, and talking to Rick Riz, the radio broadcaster, he said it probably didn't warrant 15 days, but they needed a player. They needed the spot on his roster. So you're probably exactly right. He'll be back when he's eligible to return. Well, McClendon, the manager, said can't play short. And there's not many managers can these days.
2-2 now. Well, these two teams won't see each other till the beginning of July after this series is over. A little bit low, full count with Miller to follow, and then Cano here in the bottom of the first. 4 runs and 10 hits last night for the Mariners. They had 3 doubles and a home run. They also struck out 15 times. Canna has it. He'll take it himself. Here's the A's defense tonight. Crisp, Burns, Reddick in the outfield. Laurie, Simeon, Sogard, Canna on the infield. Fegley is your catcher. Well, I mark my strikeouts on my scorecard in red, Ray, and there was a lot of them last night. 15 strikeouts by the Mariners.
I heard you had to go to the store and buy a new red pen.
Yeah, the A's struck out 14 times, 29 strikeouts.
Well, and probably Tony Randazzo, home plate umpire, had a little bit to do with that.
A little bit.
Yeah, his strike zone was a little bit pitcher friendly. It's a good change up from Jesse Hahn. And, you know, while it went 3-2 to Seth Smith, still got the ground ball out. And looking at the last 2 starts, a total of 10 ground ball outs. The previous start, Kansas City, 13 in just the 1 start.
On the ground to Sogard, routine play, and that's the second out.
Jesse Hahn, as we have seen, predominantly a fastball pitcher and the curveball, so those 2 pitches, but great sinking action on his fastball. And he knows himself well enough that sinker ball pitchers, when they're strong, the ball does not sink. They get more strikeouts, and it's not what they want. And Jesse was the first to admit, after having 11 days between starts, between Kansas City and Anaheim, said he just was too strong, and pitchers like that want to get in the normal turn so they get the sinking action. He has had that on the first 2 hitters.
Here's Cano, first pitch strike. Cano 263, homer, 8 RBIs. He had the big double last night that tied the game. But a little bit of a slow start for Cano.
But the one thing about Robinson Cano, he'll be in the lineup every day. I don't even think he has to look at the lineup card when he comes in, unless, well, McClendon tells him he's getting a day off. But that's what 600 plate appearances will do for a player, knowing that he's going to be in the lineup every day.
He's been in the lineup every day his whole career.
Exactly.
There's a base hit to right center field. 2-out hit for Cano.
And there's a difference there in the location of the fastball. He wanted it down and away, kind of stayed towards the middle, and that's what happened to Fernando Abad last night when Abad threw the slider too much of the plate, and Cano hit it down the right field line for a base hit. This time the fastball elevated, and while it was on the ground, not where Jesse Hahn wanted it.
So here's Cruz. Ray, I want to read you Robinson Cano's games played number by year. He was on the disabled list in 2006, but since then, games played 160, 159, 161, 160, 159, 161, 160, 157. That's pretty impressive.
That's what you want to see. Exactly. Want to play every day, and he's playing a position where could get a little concerned about a slide coming into him, but I tell you, for him to play in Yankee Stadium with that short porch in right field, I mean, he was the complete player. As we saw many years. Now the Mariners are fortunate not only to have Cano, but this guy who has hit 14 home runs already in this young season, his first with the Mariners.
Cruz had a couple of hits last night. Mariners come in with a 12-17 record. It's a 9-game homestand for them. So they will be home all next week. They're 6-7 at home. So they'll try to work on that home record. The backstop, and Cano goes to second. A note on Cano: most hits in the majors since 2009. Cano just 4 hits behind Miguel Cabrera. Billy Butler's on there. How about that? Ichiro now with the Marlins.
It's a good list. Lots of hits.
1-2 pitch. That's going to get down. That's going to go to the wall, and that's going to drive in a run. Nelson Cruz comes through with a 2-out RBI hit. So the Mariners lead 1-0 here in the first.
Wow. Hanging curveball. 2 elevated pitches, and this man's so strong. Watch how this ball kind of floats in, and Nelson Cruz, really just an upper body swing. He bounced the previous one to put Cano on second base, and then elevated a curveball a little bit more. So while he got the 2 ground ball outs, then the next 2 hitters, the middle part of the batting order, the toughest, and the pitches weren't there.
It's a pretty good job of hitting by
yeah.
Nelson Cruz.
Yeah.
Took a little out of his swing, which earlier in his career he may not have done that. Right. Here's Seager. Fastball first strike. Seager was 1 for 5 with a double last night. Struck out a couple of times.
Yeah, the sequence of pitches to Cruz: a very good fastball to start, then a curveball, another curveball, another curveball. And they have scouting reports, but the fastball and the sinker for Jesse Hahn is his best pitch. And while he throws a lot of curveballs, it's still the 2 seam fastball is a better location pitch, and it's thrown harder. Less likely a hitter can make an adjustment on the pitch.
Fegley sets up a little bit outside. The pitch runs inside. So 1-1 the count. So the 3 guys in the middle of this lineup: Cano, Cruz, and Seager, which is a very nice part of the order. Cano is signed through 2023, Cruz through 2018, and Seager through 2021. So it's going to be those 3 guys for a while in the middle of this lineup. So the AL West will have to get used to that.
And every 5th day, a guy named Felix is going to be pitching. Yeah. So you've got those 3 in the middle, plus Felix pitching. Right now, Cruz is really not a threat to steal. He's at second, and a lot of attention being paid to him as Felix will pitch tomorrow in the series finale. It's been pretty good.
He's all right. Outside, and now it's 3-1. Logan Morrison waiting in the on-deck circle. So a 20-pitch first inning so far for Hahn. Simeon playing right behind second base for Seager. Took a little off, and it's a strike. 3-2.
Floating changeup starts inside and back towards the middle of the plate. Show a little respect for Seager that first base is open, but Morrison in the on-deck circle. Pretty powerful hitter himself, as we found out last night.
Curve, and Seager just got a piece of it. The Mariners last night, speaking of runners in scoring position, they were 4 for 13. And on the year, hitting just 226 in that runners in scoring position category. So they have not hit their stride offensively just yet. Walker pitched well, made the mistake pitch to Reddick though. Just a bit inside, and Seager walks. So that'll bring up Logan Morrison. Here's our T-Mobile game changer, and it is Morrison. First ever walk-off hit, and it was a home run, bottom of the 11th. He did not wait around. That was the first pitch he saw from Dan Otero. Otero has the look of disbelief. And it was a long home run. So Logan Morrison, he's got 4 home runs in his last 29 at bats. So after a very slow start, he's starting to get rolling.
On the shift again for the Athletics against him. Remember last night, his first at bat, a base hit to left field on a pitch away from him.
Hits it hard, and it goes through the legs of Simeon. Cruz is going to try to score, throw to the plate, not in time. It rolls all the way back to the backstop. Both runners move up. So Cruz comes in to score. Seager to third, Morrison to second.
Well, could have been out of the inning. The defense has played it perfectly, and Marcus Semien not able to handle it. And if he had just taken his time and thrown to the plate, he might have gotten Nelson Cruz. He tried to hurry, a little flat-footed, and as a result, overthrew the ball, scooted past Fegley. So is that 2 errors?
2 errors, yeah.
So on the field and the throw.
So missed on the fielding, and then the throw got through. So tough sequence for Simeon. So this is the throwing error, the second of the 2.
Hit the mound and then scooted, but again, take a little crow hop and know who's running. Cruz is not very fast, and just make a strong throw might have gotten him at the plate. And then once it scooted past Fegley and past Hahn, who was backing up, that put the 2 runners in scoring position.
So this now becomes an important at bat as Zunino steps in. Second and third, 2 outs. And Zunino goes around. Tough night last night for the young catcher. He was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. So his average now down to 169. But he does a pretty good job behind the plate, and I know the Mariners want to keep him back there. But he's really struggling offensively right now. Fastball is high at 94 miles an hour. So the first 2 hitters in this inning, Ray, easy routine outs. And then single, wild pitch, double, and a double error on Simeon.
Well, the same last night in the inning in which the Mariners scored their 2 runs to tie the game.
Laurie throws in time, side retired. So the inning comes to an end, and the Mariners get 2. So we're headed to the second. Seattle 2, the A's nothing.
Fans get the Sean Doolittle Silhouette Fleece Blanket presented by Kelly-Moore Paints. That will be Tuesday, May the 12th. That's next Tuesday when the A's host the Boston Red Sox for the first time this year. 15,000 fans will walk away with his green and gold fleece blanket that pays homage to Sean Doolittle's signature pose. Get tickets now at athletics.com/tickets.
Hey, we know that guy.
That's right. He's probably selling tickets right now. Josh Ziegler, who is assistant to Steve Finelli, ticket office of the Athletics.
He's got to tell us he's coming up here.
No,
come on, Josh. Good-looking family.
Yeah, his wife and daughter.
He's got good seats too. He's just past the A's dugout.
It's good to know Mickey.
Yeah.
Josh, a good man.
We hope Josh is relaxing and having a good time because he'll be back to work on Monday.
Well, I hope Josh brought some runs with him. And some, well, we won't say airless games because that's already happened.
No, that is gone.
Yeah, Josh.
See, when we do those ticket promos, we say, hey, operators are standing by. Well, Josh and Steve Finelli are like running the show.
Well, they've delegated.
Yeah.
They're still standing by, but the delegation has occurred between Josh and Steve.
Laurie strikes out, so 3 strikeouts in the early going for J.A. Happ.
Well, good fastball. We saw it last night with Taijuan Walker using the fastball inside, and Brett Laurie not able to catch up. So while he's getting fastballs, as you mentioned last night, he likes them away. Inside fastballs, a little bit tough on him. I think Happ likes the fastball.
But not afraid to use all 4. Facing Fegley. Fegley was 7 hits in 28 at-bats, all singles. This one's tapped to the right side of the mound. Happ throws low, and Morrison can't make the play, and Fegley's aboard. So that'll be an error on Happ. He had time. He just think he was a little off balance when he threw.
And he could have flipped the ball underhand a little bit more, or more consistent. And Morrison just hoping for a throw chest high. Instead, Happ hurriedly threw it in the dirt. Had plenty of time. Fegley was hustling down the line, but still plenty of time to make the easy toss to first. Maybe just wanted to pitch out of the stretch because he's got there on his own.
So 22nd error for the Mariners, and it's a lot for them. The Mariners last year made the fewest errors in the American League, 82. That was their thing. They played great defense and they had great pitching, and they won 87 games.
Well, they had the great bullpen and great defense, and you're right. And a guy named Felix. But the important thing here is for A's to take advantage of an error. The Mariners did it in the bottom of the first. Error helps them score an extra run. But you know, it's one thing to make the errors, but it's really the importance of the pitcher. In this case, he made his own error to try to get back to the dugout, take care of things himself.
Burns fouls it straight back, so 1-2. James Anthony Happ. J.A. Happ.
I'd go by Jim or James, huh? Nothing wrong with Jim or James Happ.
You think anybody's ever said A.J. Happ?
Yeah.
I think I did it opening weekend.
Well, someone was asking, is it J period A period? And it is actually. It's 2 names, but is it just J Happ? It is actually J.A.
From Illinois, went to Northwestern. He traded a handful of times. And Burns chased it, and that's another strikeout. Make it 4 for him.
Well, you have to be patient and not help him, and definitely Billy Burns, who kind of opens up as he did there, and maybe was not able to recognize the pitch was out of the strike zone. It's a tough at bat, especially when you have the pitcher on the ropes a little bit. But you talked about him being traded a few times. He was also on that untouchable list at one time, similar to Taijuan Walker, who's now pitching in the rotation for the Mariners.
Yeah, he was on the Phillies untouchable list after 2009 because his first full year in the big leagues he went 12-4 with a 2.93 ERA, and the Phillies were thinking centerpiece.
Yep.
But a couple years later, it was traded to Houston in the Roy Oswalt deal. Houston to Toronto, and now Toronto to Seattle. Sogard hits it hard past Cano into right field for a base hit. So Sogard with a single. 2 on, 2 out for Coco Crisp.
Always nice when a left-hander against a very good left-handed pitcher can get a hanging breaking ball. And this is a hanger up. I mean, Hab's got a great fastball, and it's a little surprising if you throw a fastball by Brett Lawrie the way he just did in this inning. And you go lefty on lefty, and you're taking a chance by taking a lot off the slider and hanging it instead of throwing your good fastball. It's a little surprising of the pitch selection. But Mariners must have gotten a report that said Eric Sogard can't handle the slider. If you hang it, he can.
Yep.
And that's what they did.
Coco hit a fly ball to left field. Hit it pretty hard in the first inning. In fact, it was the first pitch of the game. Good time for Coco to get that first hit. He's 0 for 10.
We scored a run last night, which is a positive. But you're right, driving in the run would be the biggest thing, especially taking advantage of an error by the Mariners and the pitcher himself.
Fegley at second, Sogard at first. Fegley not a lot of speed.
But he can get a huge lead and a big jump because infielders will play their position, not vacate to try to hold it, especially with 2 outs. So he can get off as far as Cano is as he's sneaking in a little bit, but that's just a deke.
So now the count even at 2-2 to Coco. He's trying to take advantage of Hap's air. Blocked by Zunino, and now full count, so that will certainly help the A's get the runners moving.
Well, there's the block you're talking about with Zunino, who does a good job behind the plate, good technique, and everything very good about that. So really, that's not with a runner at third, but it keeps 2 runners from advancing into scoring position. Coco's seeing the breaking pitch well. I'm surprised the pitchers in his few at bats that he's had since rejoining the club that they've gone more off speed.
Runners move. The ball's tapped slowly to short. Taylor has it, throws in time, side retired. So the A's strand a couple more. Bottom of the second coming up. Ackley, Taylor, and Smith to hit for the Mariners. They lead 2-0. California is brought to you by Prism. Now your team can collaborate at a whole new level with video walls from Prism. Learn how at prism.com. 2-0, the Mariners lead. 4 hits in the game, 3 errors in the game. So a little bit ugly early. And Dustin Ackley steps in. First pitch from Hahn is outside. There's a strike. Took a little off.
I mentioned Stephen Vogt, who is not catching tonight. This is the first time Josh Phegley and Jesse Hahn have worked together during the regular season. Of course, Stephen Vogt has been doing the majority of the catching.
Center field and a base hit. So pitch was up a little bit, and Ackley has a hit.
Now went back to another off-speed pitch, and that was after a very good changeup. And then this one floated a little bit away, but that's a difference in a pitcher or a hitter taking one of the off-speed and then gets a similar pitch and is able to drive it up the middle. Started to mention before, Zunino grounded out in the first inning, but just like last night in the 2-run inning that the Mariners tied the game, the 3 hits that they picked up all came with 2 strikes.
Yep.
And in this inning tonight, Cano, or in the first inning, Cano and Cruz both had 2 strikes, did not get the put-away pitch. And probably driving in runs is important, but getting a hit with 2 strikes, it says a lot about a hitter who might shorten up and try to make contact, but also says about a pitcher sometimes, and we've seen a lot of different pitchers that get 2 strikes and just need that put away pitch to get it out. In this case, looking for 2 outs with the ground ball.
Ackley runs. Taylor swings and misses, but Phegley can't hold on, so it's going to be a stolen base for Ackley. So first steal of the year for Ackley.
Well, not surprising with a sinker ball, ground ball pitch you put the hit and run on, and Phegley had it in the webbing of his glove, and the transfer wasn't there. The ball wasn't there.
So 0-2 to Taylor with Seth Smith waiting in the on-deck circle. And it looked like Taylor had pitch running in Ray, but it looked like he was really trying to hit it to the right side and got a little tied up, and that's the first strike.
And that's a great location when a hitter's trying to do that, especially with a running fastball that Jesse Hahn can throw to a right-hander. See the 2-seam grip just keeps running down and in. And had he hit it, made contact, it would have been to the left side.
So here's Smith. Curve drops low. The Rays beat the Rangers again. Second night in a row that's happened. Tampa Bay 7, Texas 2. Evan Longoria hit a 3-run homer in the first inning for the Rays, and they never looked back. So the Rays, even though a lot of people are worried about their injury situation, they continue to win some games. Yeah. Rays are now 17-14.
They always find a way, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Even with the new manager, Kevin Cash, Joe Madden, of course, with the Cubs now. Cobb looks like he's going to have season-ending Tommy John
for
surgery.
Sure, yeah. Tommy John surgery for a good young pitcher, Alex Cobb.
They'll find a way. They're always rich with pitching. The Rays are.
Good pitch. Smith takes it for a strike. 2-1 the count. Jesse Hahn, Seth Smith were teammates last year in San Diego. Probably never thought they'd be facing each other in a different, not just a different division, but a different league.
do know that in spring training, pitchers always come in way ahead of hitters, and the worst thing a hitter can do is have to face up their own pitcher in batting practice with absolutely zero chance to make contact and do anything because they're so far behind. And I can see Jesse Hahn could be in that category, as Smitty's saying, I don't want to face him. Throws that nasty sinker, breaks all my bats.
And there's a rocket right center field. Reddick cannot cut it off. All the way to the wall. Ackley scores. Smith to second with a double. 3-0 Seattle.
Well, they fell behind 3-1. It looked like he wanted to throw the ball 100 miles an hour. Instead of getting the sink of the ground ball, he straightened it out. And Seth Smith, a very aggressive swing. And this time, after first at bat, hitting the ball hard right to Canna, gets the ball into right center, a ball that was elevated again. Seth Smith, his first game as a Mariner, 3 extra base hits. He's on the bases so much he injured his groin. Looks like he's healthy though.
So now Brad Miller steps up. Miller takes low.
So Kuyper's not going to show up really in the box score, but the busted hit and run, Feglin not able to catch the ball and make the throw. Sure. Probably would have thrown out Ackley because Taylor did not make contact, but he gets in the scoring position. And instead of being 2 outs and Smitty up at second with 2 outs, he's now there with 1 out and a run driven in. So the little things just seem to always haunt the Athletics. And
on the score sheet, it just goes as a stolen base.
Stolen base and an RBI double. And plus, it means Hahn was out of the stretch instead of the windup. That could have made a difference. So all those things, and maybe the A's just trying to get everything out of the way. And it's game 31 for the Athletics. 32. Game 32, 12-19 they are.
I don't like that record. I didn't even say it.
Well, I've never.
I know
liked
you
it.
didn't want to see it.
No, but I mean, it is. I mean, but you just have to look at the way things have happened, and it's just that they're not overcoming the mistakes that are made. And usually, a team that makes a mistake, they find a way to get through the mistakes and make something positive out of it. But it just seems like the snake bitten part of the A's this year. They make a mistake, it hurts them.
Right to Sogard, who scoops it up. So that's the second out, and now Smith is at third, and Cano will hit. Cano had that 2-out single in the first inning. Seemed innocent at the time, but when it was all said and done, the Mariners scored twice and sent 7 men to the plate. The overhand curve rolled to the backstop. Astros leading the Angels 6-2, bottom of the third down in Anaheim. Keuchel and Shoemaker the matchup there. That's game 3 of a 4-game series. Each team has won a game in that series, so on offense early. Carter has homered, Altuve has homered. Dallas Keuchel trying to go to 4-0. He gave up 2 runs in the first inning. He probably didn't know what the heck was going on. He's got an ERA of 0.80 coming in. Coco in, under it. He's got it, side retired. Seth Smith with an RBI double. We're headed to the third. Seattle 3, the A's nothing. Our teacher program, recognizing teachers that make a difference. Visit csncalifornia.com and vote. The winner receives $20,000 for his or her school. 3-0 Mariners lead, and it's the third inning. So J.A. Happ, a few runs to work with. He has struck out 4, and he's given up a couple hits in the first 2 innings. With the inconsistency of Tawan Walker and James Paxton, the young left-hander for the Mariners, and Iwakuma is on the disabled list. All of a sudden, J.A. Happ becomes a very important part of the rotation.
Absolutely.
There's Paxton. Iwakuma's going to be out for a little while yet. And there's a base hit right center field. Cruz over to get there.
Yeah, they did some numbers about the Mariners without Felix pitching, and of course Happ has pitched a little better, but it's just a different team without the success of Felix pitching. There's Iwakuma there.
When Hernandez starts 6-0, when Happ starts 3-2, after that it gets a little ugly. I mean, Paxton, and again, we've seen him, and he's got a chance to be very good, but his ERA is 5.08. Iwakuma was struggling when he was pitching. His ERA was over 6 in his 3 starts.
But it's amazing. We saw Taijuan Walker last night, and I think he described it perfectly about everybody with one him, but it's all of a sudden is placed in a rotation depending on him, and all of a sudden he's not doing as much as he did when the expectations weren't there. I mean, baseball's a tough game. I mean, to play it consistently, and of starting pitchers, 34, 35 starts now. That's in a 5-man rotation. Position players, of course, everyday players. And the grind of every day, trying to be consistent with whatever position you're playing. It's not that easy.
So 2-0 to Reddick with Butler in the on-deck circle. Fastball in first try.
Well, catchers again. Here we go again. And hi, how you doing there? Nice talking to you.
I don't get that.
I think that's If you're going to go down and get in that position, you should not have to hold on to a catcher.
I really, really do not get that.
I agree.
I mean,
you're laughing at it.
It's amazing.
And we saw it last night briefly a little bit with Tony Randazzo, but Phil Cuzzy tonight, it's a little bit over the top. He's got both hands holding on.
I mean, do you think maybe a catcher maybe afraid to say something to the umpire? I don't know.
Well, I know Josh Vegley wanted to say something in Texas. He did not, but he found it very, very disturbing. But I think you're getting to the point now that maybe catchers are accustomed to having umpires do that. I mean, they know the umpires. Pitchers know who's behind the plate. Doesn't mean it's good.
Smith comes in. He now gets under it in a little bit more, and Reddick is retired. But I guess it's sort of twofold. I mean, it has to be a little unnerving for the catcher, I would guess. Yeah. And secondly, why are they doing it?
You know, they could very easily put their hands on their knees, get down in the crouch, which they're doing, and instead of holding on to the back of the catcher, just put the hands on the knees. You can still accomplish the same thing.
Now, granted, I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I'd like to know what it is.
We'll see Eddie Montague when we get back to the Coliseum. Eddie will be there, and we'll ask him. I bet Eddie never did it.
So if Eddie's listening, he needs to get there on Monday and come visit us in the booth, because we got an issue.
That's right. We have questions to ask.
And Eddie's the best. He will sit down and talk to us about it. And he'll be honest as well.
He's probably over in San Francisco.
That's true.
Yeah, because he handles the Bay Area, the umpires.
Somebody will tell him we're looking for him. Somebody's going to tell him.
Yeah, he'll come up the elevator and walk right in the booth.
A little smile on his face.
It's a good man.
Outside now, 2-1.
I only had one issue that happened in the World Series, and again, I said before that American League umpires before had the balloon chest protector. They stood about 3 feet behind the catcher, so there was never an issue with the American League. But the National League did what they're doing now, and I had one umpire in the World Series who was leaning on my left shoulder. I came up to throw and I bumped it and I stopped, and he apologized. He said, "I forgot to tell you, I'm going to be there." But that was the difference between America and the National League then. Now they're all in the same position where they get behind the catcher, left or right, depending the hitter. But I've really never seen as many umpires hang on for catcher as well as many as we've seen just in this road trip.
So 2-2 to Butler. Butler struck out but reached on the wild pitch. And now a full count, so I don't know if A's will start the runner. Possible. They're trailing 3-0.
Well, the Butler wild pitch strikeout in the first inning was 2 outs, so he was able to take first. Of course, the runner was at second at the time, but now he would be out because first base is occupied in less than 2 outs. But you're right. With the left-handed, Semien got a good jump before and stole.
Good swing. Foul right side, lower level.
Cap, I think a lot of times the score will dictate whether a runner is put in motion or not. This is a 3-run game, and you got Mark Canha in the on-deck circle. He could get into a hap fastball, and sometimes you just don't want to take a chance of running into a double play. Attempt a stolen base, you get a strikeout, throw him out. Zunino does throw well.
If Semien goes, he does run, and it's a swing and a miss. Zunino's throw is late, and it's a stolen base for Marcus Semien, his second of the night.
Well, quick release by Mike Zunino, but really not a lot on the throw, which is a little surprising. And pretty good jump by Semien, but a good throw down. He's out. Instead, it was up and had to bring it down. And really just kind of not following through Zunino to get the ball down to where the shortstop could handle it and apply the tag without reaching up and bringing the ball down.
Semien 6 steals now. In fact, he's 6 for 6 in steal attempts. So it's up to Canha. Canha hit a fly ball to right field. Cruz ran it down. Fastball up and away.
Well, really the good thing about Mark Canha, he is strong and he is aggressive swinging. And think of the home run he hit off Taijuan Walker in Oakland, his first major league. How he crushed that. And somebody swings as hard as he does, you just kind of hope he makes contact with a good fastball, because a pitcher can provide the power of the fastball. And it's a nice swing, could make it a 1-run game.
Right at him, Hap. 92 miles an hour. Maybe a little sneaky fast.
Yep. Yeah, it's a kind of explosive fast. And a leg kick, transfer, and let it go.
And that one on the inside corner. And now it's 2-2.
Similar pitch that he swung through. Maybe thought a little bit more on the inside part of the plate, but looked like a pretty good pitch.
.57 pitches for Hap, so he's thrown a lot of pitches so far in the game. And now the count is full, so both starting pitchers have thrown a lot of pitches. And with all the bullpen work last night, that could be an issue as the game goes on. Mariners bullpen through 6 innings last night. A's bullpen through 4+.
You know, if you have a bullpen that gets overworked because the starting pitchers don't go deep in a game, that usually costs somebody a job, because you have to get fresh arms, and if the bullpen gets worn out, as the case last night for the Mariners, 6 innings, that's a lot of work. And at times too, you're kind of forced to have the starting pitcher throw more pitches to stay in the game longer.
And you don't like to do that either.
No, that's always accepted.
3-2 pitch on the ground to the shortstop. Taylor has it, throws, and they just get Canna. So the A's strand another runner. They've stranded 5 through the first 3 innings, and they trail 3-0. Here's our cold hard facts, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Interesting stuff here. Most flying miles this season, the Mariners, and they will be at the top of this list every single year. But this year they will travel over 43,000 miles. The A's are second, and then no surprise, Giants third, Rangers fourth, Angels fifth. And that's all you got to do is really look at a map of the United States. But Rangers, or the Mariners, are always going to be at the top.
Well, the surprising one would be the Rangers in it, because they're kind of central south, you know, and they're, but not surprising. There were 4 teams on that list, all on the West Coast, up and down the coast. But just think if the interleague play included Eastern Division, like it happened last year, and then
all those teams, the number would just increase.
But
it would still probably
10,
be the same order.
The 10,000 miles. So for Nelson Cruz, he went from Baltimore to Seattle.
Simeon scoops, juggles, throws, and Cruz is out. So you saw those numbers, right? Well, I have the team with the fewest miles.
Let me guess.
I'm going to let you guess, because I have the number and the team.
I'm going to simply guess, because it's either Minnesota, Chicago, Kansas City, which would be 3 and right in the central part of the United States. So which one of those 3 is on the list?
It's Cincinnati.
Cincinnati? Okay.
Yeah, which, you know, again, that makes sense. Cincinnati travels 20,612 miles. So, so the A's travel twice as much mileage-wise as the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, I know when I played in Cleveland, we would fly out of the Burke Lakefront on the Maybe Airlines. It was one of those maybe you make it, maybe you don't. You know, and we would leave on the day of games.
Sure.
You know, because you fly to Chicago or New York or Baltimore, whatever. It was always day of game.
But obviously, just Seattle, up in the Northwest. But There's a liner into the glove of Simeon, and Jesse Hahn is going to go for a little walk. That was a shot right back at Hahn.
On a 6-5, get out of the way. And right back, and by the time he put his glove up, the ball was past him. So that was not well, but Kai Perdue know that his family, Kate and Fred Hahn back in Connecticut, and his sister Stephanie Melissa, they have to be happy because this game started an hour earlier. They're usually up on the East Coast watching late games, so an early Mother's Day present for his mother Kate, getting to watch their son pitch tonight in Seattle.
And facing Logan Morrison,
who should have been out in the first inning. This could have been a one-run game. This could be 1-0 if all things had worked out. He's could have been trailing by 1. Instead, it's 3.
Good fastball, and it's 0-2. Morrison can't believe it was called a strike. He wanted to go for a walk, but then he remembered pace of play rules.
But
he also kept his foot in the batter's box.
He's also leaning outside for a pitch, and the ball was inside a corner, on the corner, caught in Phil Cuzzy. And you find more and more hitters who will lean and kind of go towards the outside part of the plate. So any pitch inside, they'll usually throw up their arms and act like they're almost hit.
Sogard comes in to get a good hop. So 8 pitches for Jesse Hahn. He needed a quick inning, and he got one. 4th inning coming up. 3-0 Mariners. Sonny Gray, very solid again. He got a no decision, but as the game went on, he just kept getting better, and that's kind of what Sonny does. When it was all said and done, 6 innings, 6 hits, 9 strikeouts, and he threw 104 pitches. So a no decision for Sonny Gray, but he is on the season 4-0 with a 1.65 ERA through his first 7 starts.
And evidently, after throwing 119 pitches in the previous start in Texas, he was on no more than 105 last night. And as we've said, the pitching coach will kind of monitor. They'll average the number of pitches over 3 starts. And when you throw 119 in 1 start, that's going to up it considerably. And kind of a guy you want to make sure that he makes every 5th day he makes the start. And we saw last year it's not good to give him extra rest.
2-0 pitch to Laurie in first strike. Laurie struck out swinging in the 2nd inning. A's have had opportunities early. They're 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. And this one hit high in the air, foul. Astros still leading the Angels. It's now 6-3 in the 5th inning. chased it. 6 strikeouts for Happ.
Well, he had to be thinking, here comes a good fastball, and get ready for it. He pulled the string on a curveball, and it was in the dirt. And Brett Lawrie not able to make contact. They have kind of fools hitters because he's got a plus fastball and then throws the curveball on top, and Josh Fenway just dropped his head thinking, I'm looking fastball. He threw it and I couldn't swing.
And it was almost like a BP fastball.
Exactly.
Fegley reached on Happ's throwing air first at bat. See a lot of pitchers do what Happ did, where in his case takes his throwing hand and kind of rubs his glove hand in the wrist area to get a little sweat on his throwing hand. Hit well to right field, but Cruz is going to get back there, and in right center he has it. So 2 outs here in the top of the 4th. 5 in a row retired by Happ.
See, when you see a pitcher rub that much, you want to sometimes wonder if there's more than just moisture. It could be anything, but as long as, usually if you go to the mouth, they can go to their mouth even on top of the mound, but they have to wipe. And so there are some restrictions, but what you're saying is exactly, they want the moisture.
Well, it worked there.
Yep.
Billy Burns grounds out. 3 up, 3 down inning. It's 3-0 Seattle as we go to the bottom of the 4th. State in 2010. Dallas Braden, through the 19th perfect game in Major League history, did it against the Rays in Oakland. 109 pitches. His catcher was Landon Powell, and he did it on Mother's Day, and that's his grandmother. And it was really one of the coolest days on a baseball field that I know I've ever seen. Ray, and I know you feel the same way. It was awesome.
Peggy Lindsay just got on top of the dugout. She said, I got to get down there, ma'am. You can't do it. That's my grandson. Yes, I will. Jumped down and hugged Dallas Braden. So that was something. I think we both looked at our scorecards and said, he hasn't given up anything. We're in the 9th inning, and he's given up nothing.
Well, the game just kind of cruised along, and you're right, about the 5th or 6th, we realized that our scorecard was very neat.
Yep.
That was very cool.
You know, we had the Catfish Hunter anniversary of his perfect game, and I talked to our good friend Monty Moore today. I said, Monty, was that your score sheet? He said, yep. Of the perfect game, because Monty had all of his things from Kansas City that he's provided the Athletics, and that was his score sheet from the Perfecto.
That's cool. I'd like to see it.
Jim Pagliarone was the catcher, and unfortunately both he and Catfish passed away. Pag from up in Grass Valley area. And Monty told me that that at the time, and of course 68 guys didn't make the money they're making now, that Catfish bought Jim Pagliarone a very, very special watch to thank him for his job of catching the perfect game. And Monty said he'd have his golf tournament down in Porterville, and he said Pag would come down there and show off that watch. Said this is what Catfish gave me. So
proud.
Yep.
But, you know, you think about those moments from a broadcaster standpoint, Ray. And I think the ultimate, when you announce for a team, would be to call a team winning the World Series, but we're TV announcers, so we don't get to do that.
That's
it's
true.
national
That's right.
announcers, and that's fine. We all get that. So really, the moments that you remember are individual performances, and a perfect game at home on Mother's Day when your mother has passed away from cancer and your grandmother's here. So you add that all up, and that's what made that day
a perfect
day. I mean, it was just it was really cool.
It was a perfect game and a perfect day. And we really enjoyed Peggy this because she brought some great eclairs. I mean, she had the best eclairs, and that's what we miss. I mean, we miss Dallas, but I think we miss those eclairs more.
She was a rock star around the Coliseum for a couple years. 2-2 to Zunino, Ackley to follow, and then Taylor. And the count remains 2-2. Zunino grounded out in the first inning. Actually, it ended the first. And did he go around? Sure looked like it. No. It's Will Little, the first base umpire.
An interesting side swing here and see what Mr. Little from first base saw on this check swing. A ball in the dirt. And I think that could have gone either way, but the top of the head of the bat sometimes when it goes forward there. So it's always a tough call for a first and third base umpire.
Heads up down there, Josh, from the ticket office. Heading down his direction. Looks like everybody's okay, which is the most important thing. Another 3-2 setting up inside. And that was right off the knuckles. That was a jam shot.
Well, he had a check swing on a similar pitch his first at bat, first pitch that was up and in. No, Josh, you don't cheer for the home team when you're rooting for the A's.
They're rooting for a strikeout.
Let's hope so. They got
it. So second strikeout for Jesse Hahn.
Right. All those foul balls with 2 strikes and then pull the string on a back door. Great changeup, and Zunino couldn't pull the trigger.
Yep, you got a little head nod. Here we go.
He knows he's amongst a lot of Mariners fans, so he doesn't want to get too excited.
He's a smart guy.
Yep.
Curve inside to Ackley, who singled and scored in the second.
Well, the good news for Jesse Hahn tonight, through 3 innings, he's got 6 ground ball outs and did the strikeout to start this inning.
And Sogard backhands, throws. What a play by Eric Sogard. Did not think he had a chance to get Ackley, and
wow,
he did.
And Cap, you think about, he got momentum when he jumped. That's the key. Watch this. He catches it, jumps, and he's able to get that much on it in midair. It's not like he planted his right foot. He planted his right foot to jump and then threw the ball and got a lot on it. So another ground ball out. A great play, though, this time by Eric Sogard at second, ranging far to his right and getting an unbelievable amount on a throw, airborne.
2 outs. Here's Taylor. 7 in a row retired by Jesse Hahn, so he's in a nice little groove. Inside corner strike. Chris Taylor struck out swinging in the second inning. The deepest Hahn has gone this year is 6 innings. That was in his very first start. The other starts have been 5 innings, 5 1/3, 5 2/3. So kind of typical of a young pitcher. Sometimes struggling a little bit to go deep into games, but that'll come. You know, Ray, he's really not a big strikeout pitcher.
He doesn't want to be either.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, so I think he has the mindset that will help him learn how to pitch deeper into games.
And he is still very young. And of course, A's are fortunate to get him from San Diego, where he had some experience there. But he's going to fit nicely in this rotation. When you're a ground ball pitcher, it doesn't matter where you pitch. It's going to help you.
Roll foul. Good sinking fastball there. Taylor 2 hits in 15 at bats. He's recovering from an injury. Broken bone in his right wrist, which happened in spring training. Happened on the 13th of March. So he got healed up, went to AAA for a little bit. Now he's in the big leagues. 3-2, again foul off the catcher this time. They're doing the wave here at Safeco Field. Very, very nice crowd tonight. Not a sellout, but not a whole lot of empty seats. Upper deck, well down the lines, but
disappointed people didn't get the bobblehead.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. So good inning for Hahn. A couple of strikeouts, and we're through 4 from Safeco. 3-0 Seattle. By Evergood Sausage Company, get grilling. Beautiful look at downtown Seattle with the Space Needle.
Will that take off?
That's not going anywhere.
Independence Day, something like that? No, that's not going anywhere. It's a signature downtown Seattle, the Space Needle. It's the 4-seam, 2-seam, 93 miles per hour for the 4-seam. Curveball has been a good pitch for him tonight. 4-seam fastball has been better.
Sogard, Crisp, and Simeon here in the top of the 5th. They're trying to get something going. That one hooked down the right field line, but foul. So 1-2 the count. Sogard singled in the second.
Throwing something else soft in this at bat after singling on a slider in his first at bat. Was defense and really what he's doing defensively and swinging the bat. Ben Zobrist, understand he's starting to swing the bat a little bit, but not taking batting practice.
Strike 3 called on a delayed call from Phil Cuzzy.
Well, how about this, Kai? Stephen Vogt, we have seen him with that gruffy look, and that's him on the left. Remember that look? And now check him out on the right. Stephen Vogt, clean shaven, and he never wanted to have that happen. But what happens with all the barbers now at the stadiums, you can go in and he simply said to the barber, I want you to trim up my beard. Well, he decided to give him his own look, what Stephen didn't want, but the barber thought he needed.
Interesting.
And as it turned out, it was so bad, Stephen Vogt put a cap over his face and went in the bathroom and shaved everything off.
Wow.
So he is clean shaven. So
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. Because he looked like the scruffy catcher, and we know. But on a positive note, he's got a group here tonight. The Sandberg Baseball Club. If the name sounds familiar, it is. It's Ryan Sandberg's nephew, Jared, who now is the manager at Durham Bulls. But they have 90 baseball players from the Sandberg Baseball Club here tonight. Someplace, couldn't find them. They're spread out someplace. But Stephen Vogt works during the offseason, works with the catchers and the hitters. It's in Olympia, Washington, close to Tumwater, where Stephen lives during the offseason. So it's a good trip for Stephen Vogt. He'll be playing tomorrow against King Felix. Tonight he gets the night off against his lefty. And you talk about Marcus Semien, he's clean shaven too, right?
He is. What's going on here?
I don't know.
Kurt Young was getting a haircut today.
Oh, no.
I went in there. I said, Kurt, you look good, buddy. See, he's tightened up.
As I've said before, I walk into Rod, said, hi, Rod, and then I walk out. I know exactly what I'm going to get. I would never go into a barber any place, especially in a clubhouse, because they have a tendency to do what they want to do.
Okay.
I say, you've got the good look. You don't need to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with you there, Ray. You're a man of conviction, I can tell.
I see sometimes there's so many opportunities for players when they go to the clubhouse, they're just tempted to go in, get a shave or get a haircut.
3-2 pitch outside, and it's a 2-out walk. Semien has 2 singles and a walk.
See, he shaved. He's perfect tonight. They just have to find a way, even with 2 outs, to get something going, because J.A. Happ is looking like Cy Young. But he only gave up 3 hits in 6 innings in Oakland back in early April, so a similar performance tonight by the left-hander.
And a pitch. Happ thought it was a strike, and I got to say, it looked like a pretty good pitch.
I mean, it's down the middle. It's the question of the height, I guess, and went Reddick's way.
So 1-0 to Reddick. And that one is way out in front of him, and he hits it into the upper deck down the right field line. Reddick has struck out and hit a fly ball in the left field. So 1 for 7 in the series. That slider, and Reddick got a good look at it. So 83 pitches, 4 2/3 innings.
Not good.
That's not good.
It's a lot of pitches, and that means he either extends a little bit or go to the bullpen again.
Six of the 7 relievers pitched last night. Wilhelmsen was the only one who did not pitch. 33 balls and 50 strikes for Happ. Up and in, 3-1. But he hasn't given up a run yet.
Hitters cheat. Hitters look for certain pitches. And with 2 outs and a 3-1 count, Josh Reddick, I would think, is sitting fastball. That's what Happ should be throwing it.
And he missed again. Same spot, up and in. So Reddick walks back-to-back 2-out walks here in the 5th inning. And those are his first 2 walks of the game.
And not only that, Cap, those are not even close.
No.
And maybe the first pitch that was not called a strike, one that looked like it was in the middle of the plate, and according to Phil Cousy, a little bit low. Rick Waits makes his first trip to the mound tonight. He's a pretty good left-hander. He could never throw as hard as J.A. Happ.
No, big curveball, right?
Yeah.
So Butler's ready. Rick Waits back to the dugout. Butler, you see, struck out in the first, but then reached on that wild pitch, and then he struck out in the 3rd. 2 on, 2 out. First pitch is bounced foul. Seager grabs it in foul territory. So another opportunity for the Athletics. They've had runners in scoring position in every inning now except for the 4th.
The only positive thing about this game so far is the fact the pitch count has risen quickly with Happ on the mound.
It's blocked by Zunino.
Well, again, Zunino doing his job, and Happ maybe buying him a watch. Just the fact that he's blocking so many pitches. It won't be a perfect game, but the catcher is able to block balls like that to put fewer runners in scoring position. That's a great job, and Zunino at his best doing that.
Good speed with Semien and Reddick. Missed again, 2-1. So he's making Happ work, if nothing else, but it's time to get on the board. We're stranded 5 through the first 4 innings, and Rick Waits on the phone, so we are going to get some action, and Zunino's going to go chat with Happ and give that reliever a little extra time.
To me, it's always surprising if a pitcher has a difficult time throwing a fastball for a strike, because that's the percentage pitch, and you figure maybe you don't want to throw it all the time and get hit, but he's mixed in enough curveballs. But now all of a sudden he's having a difficult time throwing a strike with a fastball.
And that one's hit hard. Base hit left center field. Here comes Semien. He's going to score. Reddick hustling to third, and it's a 2-out rally, and the A's are on the board. So Billy Butler comes through.
We have seen 3 base runners hit by a batted ball within the last couple of weeks, and this was almost one here. Billy Butler hit it so hard, Semien had to jump to avoid being hit. You would not want that for the 3rd out. Instead, he avoided being hit. Watch as he jumps right there to avoid it, and still able to score. Actually, I don't think had any idea where he's going to throw the ball. With Reddick going to 3rd, of course, he wanted to keep a runner from going to 2nd. Butler was not going to go to 2nd. He could have gone to 3rd, and that might have been a close play there. But meanwhile, Billy Butler comes through with a big hit.
So 16th RBI, and here's Canna, and Canna, good swing, fouls it straight back.
Marcus Semien, get out of the way, and if he is hit, inning is over. But he's able to score. Mike Gallego is going to send him the ball enough into left center. Ackley playing extremely deep. So this 2-out walk by Semien gets Semien home, and leaves Semien with a clean-shaven look. Walked by Happ to start this inning with 2 outs.
Fastball high. Amazing. Happ had retired 8 in a row. And then he walked Simeon.
Yeah.
And now he's just fighting to get out of this inning and get through 5 innings. It's marked low. The 1-2 now. Canna get some healthy cuts. Well, he always gets healthy cuts.
Yeah, you'd think this is about the 8th inning, but it is only the 5th. I mean, it's had some length to it. A lot of pitches thrown by Happ. And Mark Canha just a little bit behind on the swing. And he will not get cheated. Sometimes shorten up a little bit, and maybe this at the time with the runner at third, try to get him in, make it closer.
And he went with a fastball, and he strikes out Canha. But the A's get on the board thanks to Billy Butler's 2-out RBI hit. Bottom of the 5th coming up. Mariners 3, A's 1. Above the first base bag, it includes an extensive high-end food and beverage package featuring chicken kebabs, Capri sandwiches, sausages, sliders, salads, desserts, soda, water, beer, wine, and much more. For more information, call 510-638-GO-A's or visit athletics.com/president.
See, I'm glad you read that, because every time I read it, I get hungry. See, so I think if you do, then maybe it will not get the hunger buds going as much. So. Yeah. I still think, speaking of Steve Finelli and Josh Eaglebush, they should arrange a president's suite for the broadcasters to broadcast.
I don't think I could agree with you more.
So we'll continue to work on that. You know that Delaire is. Good friend to Brewers.
Jesse Hahn, the speed breakdown, the two-seam fastball, 93, changeup 86. He throws his changeup pretty hard.
It's almost like a screwball type. It kind of floats in, and it's you know, you look at 12, 13 miles. Tomorrow, the changeup that Felix throws is not going to be anywhere close to that. The velocities for his fastballs and changeups are going to be up high. But Jesse Hahn has a good one, and again, like a screwball, thrown pretty hard.
0-2 to Seth Smith, and that's a liner base hit. So Seth Smith fell behind 0-2, did not seem bothered by that, and he's got his second hit. Just a good hitter, Seth Smith, and he's been that way for a long time.
Well, it's all about location. You can see the grip, the four-seamer. It's almost like it was a waste pitch, purpose pitch inside, but the grip and the four-seam straightens out, and not the sink that we have seen with Jesse Hahn.
So here's Miller. That breaks a stretch of 8 consecutive hitters retired by Hahn. Miller's grounded out twice, both times to Sogar. So day game tomorrow, and then the A's will head home. Wrap up this 10-game road trip. and go home for a week-long homestand. They'll see the Red Sox Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Red Sox lost again today. The Blue Jays beat the Red Sox 7-1. So the Red Sox really struggling. So 3 with Boston, day off on Thursday, and 3 with the White Sox, and then on the road, 3 in Houston, 4 against the Rays in St. Petersburg. So there's your next 2 weeks. Murray in on the grass. Miller swinging away this time, and he swings through a high fastball.
Kept it in the press room, press lounge, and there's Jim Scanlon down there, former A's hitting coach, good man. And the Boston Red Sox advanced scouts sat down, and he was talking about some things that are not happening in Boston, and the runners in score position, the walks, too many walks, and surprisingly said the club's not hitting, which we know they have a pretty good offensive ball club.
Miller waves at that pitch. Strikeout number 4 for Jesse Hahn.
Talk about a nasty sinker. That was outstanding. And watch this ball just dart down right there. And it might have been a changeup. Looked like it gripped. No. Well, maybe the circle changeup, but whatever it was, it darted down perfectly away from the left-hander. But, you know, Monday also is going to be the first time back in the Bay Area for Juan Pablo Sandoval. Former Giant. Of course, he'll be across the bay at the Coliseum, but he will be there, and I'm sure there'll be some reaction maybe when he's introduced. Will it be interesting to see?
And I read today where Bruce Bochy and a couple other front office people for the Giants will meet. They'll go to Pablo Sandoval's hotel on Sunday night and give him his World Series ring.
That's right. And I think Michael Morris this weekend.
He just got it.
Just got it today, or was it this today? Was it?
I think it was last, or maybe Thursday or Friday.
Because now with the Marlins, another former Giant from the World Championship. I guess the reaction of the crowd was that first pitch was called a strike, and I guess they thought maybe like Robinson Cano it should not have been.
But you know, Ray, the Red Sox have lost 7 out of 8, and they started the season 6-2.
Yeah.
Since then, they are 7-15.
Wow. That is hard to believe because they have some offense.
Yeah, it cost them the pitching coach's job. In fact, Carl Willis has been named the new pitching coach for the Boston Red Sox. So
that's
a change on the staff.
Carl Willis is a good pitching coach, and of course he had experience as a pitcher with the Twins, and then he'd been with. Actually, he'd been with the Mariners when Eric Wedge was here as the manager. And before Eric was hired, he was in the organization. It came up when Wedge took over.
A's will see Porcello on Monday, Masterson on Tuesday, and Wade Miley on Wednesday. And that's starting pitchers have really struggled for the Red Sox as well. 1-1 to Cano. Singleton scored in the first, hit a fly ball to left in the second, and he rips one to center for a hit. So Seth Smith bluff maybe going to third. So Cano has his second hit.
Well, it's almost like when we saw Smith earlier when he had a 3-1 count and hit the double, and it's just like the hitters are looking for and getting the pitch they're looking for, and they're not missing. And now the A's are looking for a ground ball to get a double play, and Kurt Young, the new haircut's going to visit his pitcher. Mike Aldrete, the bench coach, gets on the phone to the bullpen. A's have scored 1 run and trail 3-1. It's like, see who the call is for, but you did not want to let a game slip away and have a team add on after scoring a run.
Looks like Abad is getting up. So it is going to be Abad.
And you got Cruz, the right-hander, and then a couple of lefties.
So Cruz steps in. So Reddick 5th in the league in hitting. Cruz 6th in the league. Jacoby Ellsbury leading the American League in hitting. Oh, he dives, he's got it. He gets up, throws to second, throws it into right field. 1 run scores, and Cano's being waved home. Reddick picks it up. His throw's going to go across the diamond to third. 2-run score, and it's 5-1 Mariners.
You know the old saying, trying to do too much? We just saw it. Because you dive, and you've got the slower runner hitting the ball. Shorter distance is the second base, but you throw it from your knees. He could have gotten up and thrown out Cruz at first and had second and third. Great effort, but thrown from the knees, just no chance. And with the direction the way the ball was thrown, another error and 2-run score because of it.
So base hit, no RBI, and an E5 allowed all the runners to move up. So another costly error by the Athletics. One and 0 to Seager. Seager had a good rip, and now it's 1-1. It's been the season 2 for Jesse Hondre. He has not had a lot of defensive help this year.
The game that he pitched against the Mariners gave up 4 in 1 inning, only 1 earned run.
So Angel Castro starting to throw. As the A's now trailing 5-1. Seager skies one toward left. Coco's under it. So that's the second out. And now Logan Morrison will hit.
He could actually intentionally walk him or pitch him carefully, because Zunino, the right hand in the on-deck circle. We'll see what Bob Melvin decides to do. Talking to Mike Aldretti.
Yeah, Zunino really struggling with the bat right now, and Morrison the exact opposite. He's hot. So they will walk him. This will be the second walk of the night for Hahn. He's got 4 strikeouts. So 2 in the first for Seattle, 1 in the second, 2 here in the 5th. One of the runs in that first inning was unearned.
And the fact they gave Cruz a base hit, which was questionable, because I think it could have been thrown out at first base, but that might make the sack or the fly ball by Seager an earned run. But it's just kind of strange. You score 1, make it a 2-run game, and make an error, make it a 4-run game again. Just
happens too quick.
Yeah, it really does. And really, you don't want to take the aggressiveness away from Brett Lawrie, whether swinging the bat or playing defense.
First pitch to Zunino in for a strike. Zunino, a ground out in the first, a strikeout in the 4th. So he's 0 for 6 with 5 strikeouts in this series. And he skies this one, shallow center. Burns comes in, finds it, grabs it, side retired. 2 runs for the Mariners. So the 6th inning is coming up. Seattle 5 and the A's 1.
May the 16th, it's Superhero Fireworks Night presented by Xfinity when the A's take on the Chicago White Sox. Fans will dress up as their favorite superheroes, and music from iconic shows and movies will accompany the show. Fans can watch from the outfield rest, but as you know, on-field capacity is limited. Get your tickets at athletics.com/fireworks, and when they put the ropes around the infield, get in your starting blocks and take off.
It's a good sign.
And head to the grass.
Makes everybody happy.
Wonder what Josh Reddick is going to dress up like on Superheroes Night. Sam Fold and Josh Reddick, and he wants the Spider Man.
We'll be watching. It'll be good, I'm sure. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up. It's your oil change, tune-up, and brake expert.
Is this 5 and fly?
That was a 5 and flyer for J.A. Happ.
Wow.
Gives up 1 run, 8 strikeouts. So Mark Lowe comes in. Lowe pitched last night briefly through 4 pitches. Got 1 out. So the Mariners will need a lot of innings out of the bullpen again tonight. 0-1 to Brett Laurie, who has struck out twice. That one way inside. So 93 pitches for Happ, and it's all said and done. So a couple of walks. And there's a liner into the glove of Seager, 1 away. So that'll bring up Fegley. So Seager telling Mike Gallego that didn't hurt at all. My glove hand doesn't hurt at all. I'm a Gold Glover.
See, he's got the Rawlings Gold Glove on the back of his glove.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. See, right there.
I like that.
That's the Rawlings glove right there. And you know, you don't have to be under contract to Rawlings to win the Rawlings Gold Glove. It just is a name. Now, there are some who think that, well, if they have a contract with another manufacturer, that it's less likely they'll win the Gold Glove. If you're good and you're a good defensive player, it doesn't matter what glove you wear, but you're going to win a Gold Glove. It just so happens to be that Seager is contracted with probably Jim Hughes. Talks to him when they go down to Anaheim. Jim Hughes with Rawlings Sporting Goods. Former major league pitcher. Good man.
2. And Fegley chases that hard slider. So 2 outs here in the 6th.
Remember you talking about a chase slider? That's it.
Yeah.
You throw the slider, start at the outside corner, and hitters try to pick up the spin. There's a dot on a slider about the size, maybe half of a dime, but it's that rotation of the seams of the baseball that creates a red dot. You see that red dot, you know it's a slider, and you know that it's going to be breaking sharply away, and you're not going to make contact.
And isn't it true, Ray, that it's really just the seams spinning, and the smaller the dot, the tighter and better the slider is.
But a slider spin creates the dot on the seams of the baseball, the red seams.
Outside 2-0 to Billy Burns, who has struck out and he has grounded out.
But while that is the way you recognize a slider, doesn't mean it's that easy to hit, because when you see it, you may commit just like Fegley did and pick it up later and say, oh, that was a slider out of the strike zone.
And Burns slaps one into left field for a 2-out base hit. So hit number 5 for the Athletics.
Good job of slapping the ball the opposite field. That's wee Willie Keeler, hit them where they ain't, and that's just slapping the ball into left field. Surprisingly, they were shading him as much up the middle as they were, because that is where Miller, or the shortstop, Taylor, would normally be playing.
So Sogard steps in.
Fastball from Mark Lowe is a strike.
You know, the A's are down 4 runs, Kai, but even stealing second right now would not be a bad idea.
I agree.
Because Eric Sogard is an excellent hitter, but they're playing very shallow in the outfield, trying to cut off a ball that might be lined. But, you know, Angels do it all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. If you can get a jump, steal it, and get in score position.
So good slider by Lowe. Watch this baby break down.
It's the old slider, looks like a splitter.
Mark Lowe, years back, Ray, he was a power arm that a lot of people really liked. It was right here.
That's right.
Then injuries hit. He bounced around a little bit. And now back in Seattle. And that one lofted down the right field line, and that'll be fair. And Burns is going to dig for third, and he'll stop there. So Sogard has his second hit, and another 2-out rally for the A's. A's just made a trade, ladies and gentlemen. A's picked up Edward Mojica, a right-handed reliever who was with the Red Sox. He was struggling this year, but it was not that long ago that he was a National League All-Star with the Cardinals. That was in 2013. He was the closer for the Cardinals.
And you see Jared Parker, the unfortunate incident last night, placed on the 60-day disabled list. And you know, Mr. Mojica, get on that plane and we'll join you in Oakland against your former team, the Red Sox, and just let you go.
That's right.
Maybe they're ready to go Monday night.
Yeah, Mojica, a good reliever, but off to a slow start this year.
And Cap, one of the things, and while it's not 100% sure that it was going to happen, but there's an example of Billy Burns at first on a single, Eric Sogard on first on a single, and you need to have 3 consecutive hits to score a run. So that's the only reason I said about taking a chance of stealing the base, that you maybe are able to do it, and then a base hit scores where it takes 2. And it's hard to get 2 to 3 2-out hits. And basically 3 consecutive is what the A's are looking for now to score a run, unless a mistake is made.
0-2 to Coco. Swing and a miss. He struck him out 95 miles an hour. So Coco 0 for 4. 2 more stranded by the Athletics. Bottom of the 6th coming up. It'll be Ackley, Taylor, and Smith. 5-1 Mariners lead.
Inning, Morrison, the hard hit ball up the middle. Simeon let it get through him and then through to the plate. Double air, actually. And then this is a ball that the A's had a chance, and instead the ball's thrown into right field. 2 runs scored on that. So really 5 runs, only 2 earned, but J.A. Happ has been outstanding 8 strikeouts with a good fastball. He lost his control in the 5th inning and out of the game after 5, but it leaves with a 5-1 lead. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PICK-ATT, mobilizing your world.
Jesse Hahn back out there. That was pitch number 94 for Hahn. He faces Ackley, Taylor, and Smith here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Jesse Hahn has allowed a couple of unearned runs tonight.
Wilhelmsen warming up in the Mariners bullpen. Looks like Lloyd McClendon going to try to do what he did last night in this inning for each reliever.
Yep. Wilhelmsen, as I mentioned earlier, the only reliever for Seattle who did not pitch last night. And he just came off the disabled.
That's right. He pitched a simulated game and said, "Hey, you look so good.
Yeah, you look great.
You don't need to go rehab. Just do your rehab out of the bullpen."
Hahn grabs it, flips to first, 1 away. So here's Taylor, who has struck out twice.
Well,
sorry,
I agree. I was just going to say I agree with you, Kai. But Jesse Hahn deserves better than what he's been given tonight. And you know, if you don't have the miscues and the unearned runs, it makes a huge difference in a game. Puts a lot of extra pressure on a pitcher to try to hold down an offense.
Taylor with a shot to left. Coco gets over there to cut it off. Hit number 8 for Seattle.
Yeah, elevated fastball. Not much movement on this one. And as the A's bullpen quiet now, but probably start to get moving again pretty quickly as pitch count getting close to 100.
One of those pitches that Hahn has thrown in a game this year, 91. Now Castro gets up again. Quick throw. Smith steps in, and he's had a good night out of that leadoff spot. 2 for 3, single, double, RBI, and a walk. And Miller to follow. One's going to go down the right field line, and Taylor will get to second, stop there, and that is going to be the 4th error of the night by the Athletics.
And unfortunately, I have to tell you, that's the first time this year 4 errors. They had 3 errors 3 different times counting tonight before that last one. And Lloyd McClendon going to check on, because I think they were concerned that something happened to Taylor, why he did not go to third. And the ball thrown into him, and he jogged to second. And jamming his hand into the bag, I guess, affected his running. Yeah, watch a good shot there, because this ball shoots back, and he jabbed his hand into the right foot of Mark Canha. See him grimace as he hit the ground.
Well, Ray, it was his right wrist that got broken in spring training, and that's what they're looking at. Fractured bone in that right wrist. He was hit by a pitch. So that's probably the last area that he wants to jam against the base. So he's at second base with 1 out. Simeon trying to keep Taylor close near second base, which is outside. Astros leading the Angels 6-4. That game in the top of the 8th inning down in Anaheim. So we'll let you know when that one goes final. Here in Seattle, the A's playing a sloppy game tonight, trailing 5-1. And now it's 2-0. So 100 pitches now for Jesse Hahn. Pitch down and away. Good take by Seth Smith. So 3-0, you never know with Seth Smith. Be careful. And he takes low, and it's a 4-pitch walk. So third walk, 4 strikeouts for Hahn, and Bob Melvin's coming out. So we're going to get the major league debut of that man right there. Now Castro, when it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up. It's your oil change, tune-up, and brake experts. We'll be back.
Following the fireworks show is when the A's will take on the Chicago White Sox. 15,000 fans will receive a pair of A's branded mustache socks driven by Chevrolet. Get your tickets now by calling 877-493-BALL or visit athletics.com/tickets. So put those mustache socks on and drive your Chevrolet with your feet out the window, Cap. That'd be pretty good, showing off those mustache socks.
One way to do it.
Yeah.
So Jesse Hahn, 5 runs, 3 earned, walked 3, struck out 4, 102 pitches.
Yeah,
so
that's
he
too
pitches
bad.
into the 6th inning, and the major league debut of Angel Castro. And Castro finishes up his warm-up tosses. So there he is. The numbers in AAA. Had a couple of starts. 1-1, 3.79 ERA. Castro is 32 years old. He's from the Dominican Republic. He's been in professional baseball since 2006. Originally with the Detroit Tigers. First pitch. So his first big league pitch, 95 miles an hour, and it's in for a strike. Angel Castro. 66 career games in the minor leagues, and you see the different organizations that he has been in. And he jumps ahead 0-2.
Well, Josh Hood had to go to the small font to put all those teams in it, didn't he?
Yeah, he's been around.
That's why Josh is the best.
You know what? There's also a stop in Mexico and a stop in Japan. How about that?
Yeah. Well, normally.
And a stop in independent league baseball.
Oh, wow. Pitcher making his debut, and he throws the first pitch. That ball is usually thrown out and authenticated, but he throws a strike, and he's got the same ball in there.
Very high. Down the right field line. Foul.
That curveball, Well, a pretty good fastball at 95, and there's your Uncle Charlie right in the middle of the plate. Unfortunately, Miller, he's trying to help it go fair. He's trying to push it foul, and Castro said, I won. Just don't throw the same pitch.
And that fastball runs in on Miller. He spins out of the way.
Outside target, and what a great play by Fegley to reach back as he had Phil Cousin hanging on to him as he reached for the ball.
That's right. He's holding those catchers down.
Yeah.
Another foul ball. That went into the first row of the upper deck. The crowd tonight, 37,441.
Yep.
Very nice crowd tonight.
Only difference tonight and tomorrow afternoon down that left field corner, there'll be a whole bunch of Kings sitting.
That's their way.
Kings
Day court.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be in session on a Sunday.
Swing and a miss. So Castro, first batter he faces in the big leagues, and he's got himself a strikeout.
Good fastball, and that's why it's a little surprising that he threw the hanging curve to Miller. You throw 95 with a fastball. If you're going to throw the curveball, bounce it, do something, and come back with a heater. And fortunately, he did. And the ball was thrown out by Josh Fegley. Brian Davis is on the trip for the weekend. Assistant to Steve Vucinich will get the ball and get it authenticated. Yes. That's the bad boy. Brian was there in the picture momentarily.
So 2 outs now, and Castro gets to face Robinson Cano. Cano with a couple of hits tonight.
Steve Vucinich, of course, the head equipment manager, clubhouse manager, his daughter Kayla's graduating from Gonzaga this weekend. So that's why Brian Davis flew up for the weekend. So those will be rejoining the club Monday in Oakland. But Val, his wife, Kayla, and the graduation from Gonzaga. There's Brian Davis. Brian trying to break the club some luck coming up to Seattle for the weekend.
No luck so far.
Yeah.
2-0 to Cano. 2 hits, 2 runs scored for the all-star second baseman.
He shaved also. He's got the Yankee look. See, Yankees, you can't have a beard. He had the beard for a while. And went to the clean shaven look.
Fegley sets up on the outside corner, and Cano ended up getting a pretty good pitch to hit. Now Castro on in relief of Hahn, who went 5 1/3. Up the middle, and that'll get through into center field, and that's a base hit. Taylor comes around, and Taylor will score. So that makes it 6-1, and Robinson Cano has a 3-hit game.
Well, he just so aggressive swinging the bat that when he makes contact, even though it's a ground ball, finds a way to get through the infield. And because the walk to Smith, that moved Taylor up to second even without the error, and that makes it an earned run.
So a couple of hits, a walk, an error, and another run for the Mariners. And here's Nelson Cruz. Cruz 2 for 3, double, single, RBI, run scored. So he and Robinson Cano have done quite a bit of damage tonight. 5 hits between them, 3 runs scored, and 2 RBIs. I guess they're doing what they're getting paid to do.
Yes, they are.
So now 2-0. Cruz now with the RBI tonight has 27 on here. And he tried to hold up. Called a swing by Phil Cuzzy. 2-1 the count.
Cuzzy hasn't called that a strike in the location, but he immediately pointed to the swing of Cruz, who started and then quickly brought it back, looped it back, and tried to sell it, but can't fool Mr. Cuzzy.
Three and one now, so Castro's got himself in trouble here against Cruz.
Yeah, because Cruz is going to be sitting on one pitch. And we know what that pitch is.
Smith at second, Cano at first. And fastball well placed right on the outside corner. So Cruz was zoned in on one spot, and that pitch right on the outside corner. Three-two pitch misses badly outside. Bases loaded. Kurt Young will have a quick chat with Castro.
But during his little meeting with the press yesterday, when he arrived, Fernando Rodriguez was his interpreter. So he does understand enough English. Matter of fact, they're standing around saying that every question was asking, not at his head, but then Fernando was doing the interpreting. After all, he's played in a lot of organizations and college in the U.S. So right now trying to get the third out against another tough hitter in the left-hander hitting of Kyle Seager.
Seager has walked, lined out, and hit a fly ball to left field. And the Mariners with one in, looking for a bunch more. And the first pitch is hit high and foul. The Mariners have had 14 base runners so far tonight, and we're only in the 6th inning. Pitch is a fastball 97 miles an hour, and it catches the inside corner. So a very nice pitch there by Castro. It was right where Fegley wanted it.
You throw that hard with movement, that's pretty good, and you can locate it that well.
And Castro 0-2 pitch. Goes upstairs again with a fastball. Astros still leading the Angels 6-4. That game now in the top of the 9th inning in Anaheim. So the Angels will get one more crack at the Astros. Mike Trout has homered in that game. One-two pitch down the left field line, and it is going to hook into the seats finally. So the runners will return to their bases. We'll do it again. Seager will do that. He'll flip one the other way.
Yeah, but when the guy's throwing 95, 97, he's late swinging anyway, even though he's trying to go that way, but hard to keep the ball fair.
Seager drives one toward right center. Burns back. He's near the wall, and he's got it. So Seager put a charge into one, but not quite enough. A run for the Mariners. They lead 6-1 as we go to the 7th.
California is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Xfinity, home of the most live sports.
6-1. The Mariners lead the Athletics. Beautiful sunset here in Seattle. The A's going to have to come back in the late innings. New pitcher for the Mariners, it's Tom Wilhelmsen. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up. It's your oil change, tune-up, and brake expert. So Wilhelmsen, just off the disabled list, had some right elbow issues, but he's feeling better.
Well, I liked what the Mariners said. They put him through extensive workouts and fielding ground balls, covering first base, doing all kinds of different things, and figured, why send him out? They need him. At least they need a body, and why not have it be him?
Wilhelmsen's first pitch to Simeon is down and in. Simeon, Reddick, and Butler. Simeon's been on base all 3 times tonight. It skies this one. It'll be just below us. Wilhelmsen last year, 2.27 ERA in 57 games. Even made a couple of starts for Seattle last year. He's been in his bullpen for a while now. Good fastball there, 94 miles an hour. And Williamson also has a big curveball.
Yeah,
she likes to throw.
Well, right over the top, and that's with the extra velocity. A little tough to pick up and make contact.
Right there, strike 3 call. So Williamson strikes out Simeon for the first down.
A high fastball, then went down a little bit lower, but right there, perfectly thrown at the knees. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Doesn't look like it. Reddick steps in 0 for 2 with a walk. In the 11-inning game last night, the A's struck out 14 times. Tonight, they have struck out 11 times. Mark Lowe in an inning. Gave up a couple of hits, a couple of strikeouts.
Taking a look at Brett Lawrie and the beard. Evidently, he saw what happened to Stephen Vogt, decided not to get his beard trimmed, so he didn't have to completely shave. So that's where Stephen Vogt looked last night. But tonight, if you had seen him, I think he took a selfie to really show what he looked like. That's the reason he shaved. So Brett Lawrie, I've been thinking about making a great diving play, but unfortunately, the result after the dive is not what he wanted.
Big swing by Reddick.
And there's a good curveball you're talking about. Hit right on top of it, and as a result, just enough to deflect off the catcher's mitt of Mike Zunino.
So another 1-2 pitch. Close. Wilhelmsen thought maybe he could have grabbed the outside corner.
Well, just ran enough off the plate. Good for Josh Reddick. And last night he thought maybe after the first time he wouldn't be around to hit a home run later. He might not be tonight.
Reddick lets Phil Cuzzy know he thought it was outside.
And actually the pitch before was better than actually the one he was called out on.
So back-to-back strikeouts looking by the A's. So here's Butler. Phil Cuzzy looking in the dugout. Which generally means they're probably thinking that they'd like to throw somebody out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would you look over there?
There's never a reason. I don't know if you brought that up before, and I agree with you 100%, because if you make the call that you feel is the right call, why are you looking?
Sure.
You know, because you just say to yourself, I made the right call, so they can say what they want.
They want to throw somebody out if they're looking in the dugout. 0-2 pitch. There's that big curveball, but not close. So 1-2 the count. Butler had an RBI hit in the 5th inning. It's the only run for the A's tonight. And under this one, Cruz comes in, and he's got it. Wilhelmsen with a 3-up, 3-down inning with a couple of strikeouts. 7th inning stretch at Safeco, 6-1 Mariners. to you by Hyundai, and it's tonight at 10:30, and it's on Comcast Sportsnet Bay Area. Tonight's topics, highlights and recap from this game, and full highlights from the Game 3 Warriors-Grizzlies game. Not good news from Memphis, where the Grizzlies beat the Warriors tonight. Kelly Johnson and Henry Wolford will host. So the Warriors now down 2-1 in that series. And they will play Game 4 on Monday night in Memphis. New pitcher for the A's, it's Chris Bassett. So when it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change, tune-up, and brake experts. Bassett comes in for appearance number 5.
So Mr. Castro gets 2/3 of an inning.
Yep.
Strikeout, a base hit, a walk, and a 5-ball to center. So Chris Bassett pitching in the 7th inning. And the more this young man pitches, the better he is going to become, because he's got good pitches. Loves to pitch out of the bullpen.
First pitch to Morrison, fastball way outside. Bassett did not pitch last night, so maybe Bassett can give you a couple innings, save the rest of the bullpen a little bit. And that one not close. 2-0. So the A's have made 4 errors tonight. Cost them a couple of runs.
I hate to say it. It's Farquhar pitching, getting loose to come in. The A's have now made at least 1 error in 7 consecutive games.
First 32 on the year.
Yeah, first time tonight, a 4 spot. 2 other that he had 3 errors in a game. So not a good line, and get in the unearned run column. But they're still runs, and that's what helps you at least contributes to a losing cause.
Simeon made 2 on 1 play. Laurie made an error, and the pitcher Jesse Hahn made an error. And there's no surprise, Ray, that runs were scored in those innings where errors were made.
That's right.
3-1 pitch is off the plate inside, and Logan Morrison is aboard for the 3rd time. 2 walks, and he reached on one of those errors.
Well, a little shake of the head by Chris Bassett, I think, says it all, because he knows he has quality enough pitches to not walk batters, and to a little cutter inside that Logan Morrison did not offer.
So 5 walks by A's pitchers tonight. And Mike Zunino. Zunino wants to get in the hit column in this series. He's 0 for 7. He's watching his Mariners get 10 hits last night, and they got 9 hits tonight. He just wants 1.
Yeah.
Missed again. 1-1 the count.
Well, this is was a 6-10 start tonight, and 1:10 tomorrow afternoon series finale. Zunino's been catching Felix Hernandez, because Felix has that hard sinker, really a changeup that goes down out of the strike zone. Since Zunino does such a great job blocking balls in the dirt, he usually is behind the plate when he is pitching.
Jesus Sucre is the backup catcher.
Well, I would think Zunino, I mean, it's still early enough to see in the season that if he's catching Felix, and Felix kind of would like to have him back there, I don't know, Sucre could be the catcher, but we'll see what Lloyd McClendon decides. But in the case of Felix Hernandez, who's 5-0 to start the season, I'd like to have a catcher be able to catch, especially the pitches that he throws down, which he has to do to be effective. And Jesse Chavez pitches for the A's tomorrow, and I think that is a good sign for the A's, the way he has pitched deep in the games. So Mother's Day will feature Jesse Chavez.
2-2 to count now to Zunino. Ackley is the on-deck hitter. Curve stays a little high. Angels are batting in the bottom of the ninth. They've scored a run. It's 6-5. Astros trying to finish it off. Remember, Luke Gregerson's not there.
That's right. Did we ever figure out he's on bereavement? And we hope it's not bad news for him.
The runner goes. Maury flips it across. So Morrison now at second, 1 out. But the Angels trying to tie it up against Chad Qualls. They've scored once, still batting with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth in Anaheim. 6-5 Astros. Rangers lost earlier today to the Rays in Florida. Ackley a single and a run scored in the second. Ground out in the fourth. Ground out in the sixth. Sogard made a nice play on him in the fourth inning. Outfield playing fairly deep, and Billy Burns pulled over toward left center a little bit. Fastball a little low, 2-0. Chris Taylor, the on-deck hitter. Base runners all night, all over the place for Seattle. Chad Qualls got out of it, Ray, and the Astros beat the Angels 6-5.
Walk-off was not in store for the Angels this time.
Qualls got Pujols to end the game. And a good pitch there. Dallas Keuchel got the win. He was not terribly sharp tonight, but he was the winning pitcher, so he's 4-0.
Kirby also had pitched 9 shutout innings against the A's and had a 2-0 lead in the 10th. And Gregerson actually in that game was when Josh Reddick hit the 2-run pinch hit double to left center and almost scored the winning run, but was thrown out at the plate.
Scooped up by Sogard. That will be out number 2 with Morrison going to third. So Qualls got the save. Home runs for Houston, Rasmus, Carter, Altuve, and for the Angels, Trout. Number 9 for Mike Trout. So the Astros are now 20-11, and their lead over the second place Angels is 6. We're on the 9th of May. Good pitch there by Bassett to Taylor.
Well, I know when the A's came into Seattle, there was a report about the Mariners and where they were prior to this series and saying they would have to play 600 baseball. And, you know, I think those numbers are a little skewed because all it takes, just like the Astros, and they won 10 in a row. You get a team that is trailing and all of a sudden they win several in a row. It's a whole different story.
Sure. What you need more than anything is a win streak.
Exactly.
And that'll get you rolling.
That will settle a lot of things.
So Bassett gets out of the jam, 6-1 as we go to the 8th.
Live baseball at bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcast, statcast, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or your tablet.
And that's where we're at right there, folks. Stadium on the left is the football stadium, CenturyLink Field. When it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Tune-Up, your oil change, tune-up, and brake expert. So Danny Farquhar comes in. Farquhar, like most everybody, pitched last night. Pitched an inning, a couple of strikeouts, and he threw 18 pitches. First pitch to Canna is a fastball high. Canna tonight has hit a fly ball to right, a ground out to short, and a strikeout. This is their defensive switch. Ackley is now in left field. And we got a new center fielder.
Ruggiano.
His name is Justin Ruggiano. Seth Smith is out. So they got to upgrade the defense just a little bit.
I think the A's are hopeful tomorrow that after their starting pitchers have gone short basically the first two games, that they get some length out of Jesse Chavez. He did that in Minneapolis his last start in a game that was well, they had some rain late, and he did pitch deep. Pitch count was great, and they'd hope for the same tomorrow. And I'm sure Lloyd McClendon is hoping the same for his starting pitcher and Felix Hernandez. That's why he has used the relievers as much as he has the first two games of the series. There's your manager of the Seattle Mariners, second year, Lloyd McClendon.
A 16-game improvement from 2013 to 2014. They were 71 and 91 in 2013, and they went to 87 and 75 last year, finishing just one game behind the A's for that second wild card.
And in fact, we got a chance to see the A's shut out.
Oh, Canna, left field, and that baby's gone. So Canna makes it 6-2. So home run number 5 for Mark Canna.
Well, we were thinking earlier that maybe he'd get into one from J.A. Happ with a fastball, 3-2 from Farquhar, and that was not that bad of a pitch. Kind of inside corner. See him pull his hands in. So young man is learning Rule 5 for the Athletics, and he is proving that he can hit the long balls and pop his bat. He's in the standing room only section above the bullpens. It's a pretty good poke. Number 5 for Mark Canna.
And this is Max Muncy, right? Max Muncy's hitting for Laurie. Laurie was 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts.
First 2 home runs for Canna of his 5 were hit at the Coliseum, last 3 on the road. Texas, Minnesota, and now here in Seattle.
Muncy's going to have a base hit just past Cano. So the A's trying to make some noise here in the 8th inning. Max Muncy a pinch hit single.
Another young player who's getting a chance and showing he can have some quality at bats, as we saw in Texas, and this is a nice base hit up the middle. You know what's going to happen, Kai? As we've seen, when the A's have unfortunately committed errors and unearned runs, it's going to tease us. And they're going to get down to where you say, if they hadn't given up those unearned runs, it's a much closer game.
You're probably right.
So let's just hope the A's, if they have the comeback, they can keep coming back and go all the way back. And unfortunately, that has been one of the downfalls, that those errors allow the opposing team double action or action for Bush. Elias Two lefties throwing in Tampa. As Rick Waite's another lefty, goes out to visit with a righty. That's unusual to see two lefties running in the bullpen.
Unusual.
Especially synchronized with their throwing. So the fight with the Athletics has been pretty evident throughout this season when they've fallen behind. And they have found a way to get back in the game and many times go down to the end, having a tying run at the plate or on the bases. They'll try to do it again tonight in the last two at bats.
1-0 to Fegley. And Fegley drives from the left, but it's like he may have got it off the end of the bat just a little bit, and after he grabs it. And that's the first out here in the 8th inning.
And you think
didn't quite have that sound.
Yeah, if that had been connected, it might have been a 2-run game, but you're right, just off the end of the bat.
So now Billy Burns will hit. Burns a strikeout, a ground out, and a single. Burns hitting in the 8th spot tonight. Fastball from Farquhar is high. So Farquhar was very sharp last night. A couple of strikeouts in his 1 inning of work. Not quite as sharp with the control tonight. Slapped foul. A's need to stack a bunch of hits together.
Now this is a part of the batting order to do it, and actually 3 consecutive, and Burns, Sogard, and Crisp, lower part of the strike zone. A little cutter from Farquhar that Billy Burns didn't think was a strike.
Off the glove of Farquhar, and Burns is going to have a hit. A's will take it. It would have been a ground ball that Cano would have scooped up.
And he went after it, then slipped himself. No chance once that happened. But you're right, Farquhar, if he handles it, it's going to be an out. Cano slip, no chance there, and Farquhar's gone. As Sogard, a lefty, is going to face one of the lefties coming out of the bullpen.
Lloyd McClendon not messing around. It's going to be Furbush. 2 on, 1 out. He's making some noise here in the 8th.
$15,000 fans will receive the one-of-a-kind Stephen Vogt referee bobblehead driven by Chevrolet, which features audio of his referee calls and the famous fan chant. If you believe in Stephen Vogt, get your tickets now by calling 877-493-BALL or visit athletics.com/tickets for the one-of-a-kind Stephen Vogt referee bobblehead with the audio calls. They're going to have to shave the mustache on that new bobblehead, though,
right,
because it's gone. So, Stephen Vogt, bobblehead, the referee bobblehead. And Eric Sogard will try to keep it going against Charlie Furbush. So, you're right, Lloyd McClendon. Forget about this 1 inning per reliever. With the game getting a little bit dicey, the A's trying to keep it going. Furbush is making his 14th appearance. He will work out of the bullpen a lot for the Mariners, especially in situations, lefty situations. And right now, you've got one of those, and Sogard, and then switch hitting Coco Crisp in the on-deck circle.
So 2 on, 1 out. Sogard tries to pull the bat back on a bunt attempt, but Phil Cuzzy says that he went after it. Couple of singles for Sogard. He's got the batting average up to 266. Good fastball there, 93 miles an hour. But Furbush, he's really all arms and legs when he comes at you, and it's a 3/4 delivery.
Perfectly placed outside corner, and not only that, Cap, when he sets up his front foot as he lifts it and then will come set, it's pointing towards the Mariners dugout, and you're looking out to that. I'm looking at the back of his uniform. And
then he spins around, and then that's when the glove and the arm and the leg come the other way.
And if you can read a pitcher's name when you're hitting, that's not good. I mean, it's tough to pick up the ball, especially with that setup. But Furbush has had a lot of success, especially in the specialty role, which is what he's facing right now. But he does fly open a little bit and get squared back towards the plate, but that setup is a little bit deceiving.
It's almost like when he shows the hitter his back, it's kind of slow.
Yeah. And watch how he flies open the front. See where his front foot lands. It's really kind of square. So that's probably why Sogard was trying to bunt, considering he falls off so far towards third base, trying to drag it past the pitcher's mound and try to get an infield single with a bunt.
And he chased that slider. He just could not lay off. So another strikeout.
It's just hard, and that's what the A's are trying to convince Fernando Abad to do right there. Throw the breaking pitch to where a hitter, and Sogard knows it's out of the strike zone, but you see it, hard to lay off, and that's why it's such a good pitch when it's thrown hard like that, the slider. Fernando threw a couple good ones last night, but ended up hanging one to Robbie Cano.
So here's Coco Crisp. First pitch, slider for a strike. Coco is 0 for 4. A couple of fly balls, a ground out, and a strikeout. A's have struck out 13 times tonight. The inning started with Canna's home run. Muncy with the hit, Fegley with a flyout, Burns with a hit, Sogard with the strikeout. Shallow left field. Ackley dives, he caught it. What a play by Ackley, saved a run. So that's how the inning ends. The A's get a run on the home run by Mark Canna, his 5th of the year. Bottom of the 8th coming up, 6-2 Seattle. Here's our game summary. It's brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. 2-9-4 for the A's, 6-9-1 for Seattle. Jesse Hahn gave up 6 runs, 4 earned in 5 1/3. And again, the A's offense 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. J.A. Happ was just good enough to get through 5. And the middle of the order, the big fellas, have done their job for the Mariners. But the 4 errors have hurt the A's again. So Bassett out there for his second inning of work.
With that number that you just quoted, 1 for 10 runners in scoring position, that means you've had them there, just could not get the big hit. And that's been the biggest difference tonight. Mariners coming into this series very low with their batting average runners in scoring position, but that's changed this, at least this weekend against the A's.
Ruggiano swings and misses. Off-season acquisition Justin Ruggiano.
The play to end the top of the inning, just question whether Seth Smith could have gotten the ball that Ackley made, just defensively changed and took out Seth Smith. Another umpire takes one, as Randazzo did last night. Phil Cuzzy off the mask.
So 1-2 to Ruggiano, Miller to follow, and then Cano. That one
hit his bat.
Hit his bat.
How about that? The bat, he dropped his, actually body kind of dropped down, and bat horizontal on the ground. Curveball over his head, and watch it go off his bat. Would have even been better if he had foul tipped it into Fegley's catcher's mitt, and that would have been one whale of a strikeout. Instead, just another strike.
And another curve, and it swooped in the left for a hit.
Well, we've seen a lot of 2-strike hitting tonight, a lot of 2 strikes, slower curveball. And Ackley robbing Coco Crisp off the end of the bat. He came running in, headlong slide, dive, and shot the glove up, out, and caught it right above the ground. Saved a run. Saved the A's continuing their inning. That's played by the former third baseman.
So Miller shows bunt early, and the pitch is way inside. Miller 0 for 4 tonight. 1 for 8 in the series. Max Muncy is in at there. Remember, he pinch hit for Laurie. Again high, 2-0. So I don't know if there's anything wrong with Laurie.
That's a good question, because the game was still close enough that you wouldn't figure it's not like it's a blowout, getting him rested for tomorrow, but seems to be all right.
So 2-0. See if Miller squares again.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
He did show it, and of course he'd been squaring around early anyway, so it's not as if he was not trying to convince people that it was not going to be bunny.
Gianna has a nice lead, and this one's bunted, and it just trickles foul. Miller has good speed, so he's probably lucky for the A's that that ball trickled foul. Plus, he's coming out of the left-handed hitter's batter's box.
He's 0 for 4. Struck out a couple of times. Castro, first batter he faced in his major league debut, was Milton, struck him out. Well, he's moving around that right leg. It's like he's got a groin issue too, but out of the box quickly, trying to beat out what he thought was a bunt that was going to stay fair.
So now the count 2-1. Ruggiano again a good lead. And he runs. And the pitch, call the ball, throw to second base is high. And Ruggiano has a stolen base.
Pretty good jump. Big, long, and the delivery by Chris Bassett is very similar or same when a runner on base as it is out of the windup, which means it's very long. Simeon with the throw a little bit high anyway. And Simeon just a little bit late getting the bag. It's a little bit slow for some reason.
So 3-2 the count. A couple of steals tonight for the Mariners. So 3-2. Cano, Cruz, Seager to follow. Another foul ball, just about the same spot down the left field line. Twins won again. They beat the Indians 7-4 earlier today. Torrey Hunter and Brian Dozier with hits. Hughes got the wins. Got the win. Perkins got the save. So we just saw the Twins, and they were starting to heat up and continue to play good baseball. This one's popped up, and it's just below us. So the Twins are now 18-13. They've won 4 in a row and 9 out of 10. 16 hits today for the Twins against the Indians.
And I'm sure Paul Molitor and the Twins are wondering, had he not had his meeting after the 7th game, where would they have been?
That's true. Good meeting.
Because they have played exceptionally well since then.
Fastball is inside, and 2 on, nobody out for the big boys. 6 walks by A's pitchers tonight. I don't think that gentleman right there is very happy, Bob Melvin. Managers do not like unclean games, and lots of walks. Your team strikes out a lot. You've made 4 errors.
And he knows tomorrow's starting pitcher for the Mariners is Felix Hernandez.
It's all part of the deal.
Yeah.
Big night for Cano. He's 3 for 4. 3 singles, 2 runs scored, and an RBI. Bassett catches the outside corner for a strike. Cruz to follow. Royals beat the Tigers 6-2. Jeremy Guthrie pitched well in his second win. Anibal Sanchez took the loss. He's now 2-4. So the Royals back in first place as they're flip-flopping with the Tigers. Orioles beat the Yankees 6-2, so the Orioles break their 4-game losing streak. They're trying to get rolling. They're now 13-15. Yankees 19-12 with the loss. Cano swung at a high pitch. Told you the Jays beat the Red Sox 7-1. Hottest team in baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals, but they lost today. They're now 22-8. How about that start? It's not 35-5 like the '84 Tigers, but not too shabby. 22-8. This one is skied. Fegley flips the mask, and Fegley grabs it.
You know what the problem in a division where a team starts 22-8, after 30 games, other teams start talking about wild card.
right. I mean, the Brewers, who are really struggling, they picked up a game today. They're 12.5 out.
Wow.
And you don't really want to look at games back a whole lot this time of year unless it's double digits at this point.
That's right.
And that could still change, but it takes a great streak or a great stretch of winning a lot of games over a month or even 2 months. Too many meetings between Fegley and Bassett.
They're discussing, and the White Sox are coming to the Coliseum next weekend. Hey, Chris, the former team, the White Sox. Hawk could be in. Well, whatever it takes to give the A's one last chance in the 9th inning, at least to try to do something. But maybe that was instruction from the skipper to buy a little bit extra time, but I don't think Abad's going to take a long time to get ready. With Seager in the on-deck circle, Morrison to follow him. You think Abad, depending what happens here, he would come in.
Inside to Nelson Cruz, 96 miles an hour. So 37 pitches for Bassett and Abad. Two and 0. Cruz single, double, RBI, run scored. He's also walked. So he's had a good series. 4 for 7. Batting average now at 347 for Nelson Cruz. Fastball high, 3-0.
Yes, it probably will be. But he's pretty disciplined also. It's not like 3-0. He's going to come out of his shoes.
He's a lot more disciplined than he used to be.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a little harder to pitch to because just like the curveball he hit in the first inning.
I mean, there were times early on, the first couple years with the Rangers, where he would go into slumps that would last a long time, and you could get him out, but much better hitter now. And that one way inside, and it may have hit him, and it did. So Cruz heads to first.
Is he ready? Amos said yes. Bloused uniform, just got him barely in the bloused uniform. So Fernando Abad, a big challenge for him with the bases loaded. He'll face Kyle Seager, and that will be the matchup.
So Bassett goes an inning and a third, walks 2, hits a batter, so he's gone. So bases loaded, Abad coming in to face Seager. We'll be back.
10-game road trip comes to an end, and we're happy about that. It'll be Jesse Chavez and Felix Hernandez here in Seattle. Coverage begins at 12:30 with A's pregame live, and you'll get complete A's coverage every night on Sportsnet Central, and go to csncalifornia.com. Home of A's baseball is Comcast Sportsnet. So there's your challenge, Athletics. Felix Hernandez tomorrow.
Jesse Chavez is up for the challenge.
Yes, he is.
He'll be ready to go against the Kings Court in session down the left field line. As Chris Bassett's finished for the night, Fernando Abad will try to get Kyle Seager, and then Logan Morrison behind him. A couple of lefties for this left-hander. And for him last night, that 2 spot in the save opportunity, he's 0. Last night, unfortunately, gave up the hit to Robinson Cano to plate the tying run.
Good pitch there. Fastball for a strike. Seager's 0 for 3. He walked way back in the first inning. So 1 for 8 in the series. That one hit a double last night. And that one bounces away. Nobody can find it. Luciano thought about it. He was shuffling down the line, but he decided to stay at third.
Now that's rare because Fegley blocked it, hit his chest protector, and he's looking. That's a horrible feeling. You got people pointing, people yelling, but he has no idea where it is. So Abad very alertly comes in and picks up the ball and looking all the while at Ruggiano down the line. So would you consider that a block or not?
Yeah, I guess you got to give it to him.
Yeah, and he definitely blocked it. Yeah.
Slider. Seager out in front. So this is kind of where issues have been a little bit for Abad. And
that was a cross-up.
Yeah. But kind of finishing off a left-handed hitter.
Yeah, finishing him off either, and throwing the breaking ball hard, which he just did to Seager, and it's like a righty to a righty. What Carson Smith was doing last night with that hard slider, the A's hitters could not catch up righty on righty. And same with the bottom. It's a high fastball, but if you throw that hard slider, throw it again. Because that is his pitch, especially lefty on lefty, and you throw him a fastball or a slower breaking pitch, they can adjust. But I think it seems now that Abad's kind of in between the selection of pitches as much as the type of pitch or how quality of a pitch he's throwing. I think there should be a conversation, because watch how Fegley catches this ball. And there's no conversation, but that looked like a cross-up again.
Two and 2. And that one right at home plate, and Fegley tried to pick it up. He couldn't. Ruggiano scores, and it's 7-2. They had a chance to get Ruggiano at the plate, but Fegley tried to pick it up, and he dropped it.
And a ball that close to the plate, surprisingly, Ruggiano came down. And Fegley, unfortunately, tried to backhand the ball, and that point would have spun there, and Ruggiano, secondary lead. And once he saw Fegley didn't know where the ball was, that's when he took off. So with Kaipa, unfortunately, watching Fegley catch 2 and look like he's crossed up, and then the one he tried to block barehanded, it's like he's not seeing the ball.
3-2 pitch, and it hits Seager. So things are getting very ugly here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
That's way off target. Looked like a breaking ball spun out of his hand, didn't break.
So here's Logan Morrison. So Cruz was hit, and now Seager's hit. Now Morrison steps up.
If I was Morrison, I'd be a little concerned.
Good pitch there.
So wait a minute, this got a little bit wild. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Morrison's been on base 3 times. Does not have a hit. Something's going on with Josh Phegley. That just does not look right. And there's no question that Bob Melvin's keeping an eye on his catcher here, because it just does not look right. So 1-1. And a swing and a miss on a high fastball. Still only 1 out in the inning. There's been a hit, a walk, a wild pitch, and 2 hit batters. Setting up outside. Swing and a miss. And he went inside with a fastball. And Morrison swings and misses. So 2 away.
Well, I think Scribner's warming up, so it may go to the right-hander for Zunino. And a good fastball by Abad, even though he missed location, but the good velocity. And maybe this same conversation, Bob Melvin will ask Josh Phegley what's happening.
So we got a new pitcher. It's Otero coming in. So 7-2, Mariners lead. We're still in the 8th inning. The bases are loaded. So Otero comes in to face Zunino. Beautiful look at nice city of Seattle. Has not been so kind to the A's, though. So Otero, who threw just the 1 pitch last night, will face Zunino.
And my apologies, I heard them announce Scribner that was warming up, but if he was, he sat down quickly. Dan Otero trying to get Zunino out. This would be a great confidence boost for Dan if he could get Zunino out of this inning.
First pitch is a fastball high. So 5th pitcher of the night for the A's. Mariners have also used 5 pitchers. Zunino is 0 for 4. So this game is going on 3.5 hours. Lots of walks, lots of strikeouts.
Right. Lots of base runners.
And lots of base runners. Really for both teams. And a pitch there by Otero, 1-2.
Leadoff hit in this inning by Ruggiano on the hanging curveball with 2 strikes. Then a walk, foul ball, hit batter, strike it. Bases loaded, 1 run in.
Could be playable. Muncy. And now Simeon. And Simeon calls him off. Good play there. And he's got it. Side retired. A run for the Mariners. We're going to the top of the 9th. 7-2 Seattle.
He went 5, but he pitched well enough. He is the pitcher of record for the Seattle Mariners. As Happ has a good fastball through 93 pitches, but 8 strikeouts and a nice mixture of sliders and good fastball. Mark Canha there. So J.A. Happ, our Honda player of the game for this night game. And tomorrow afternoon, the series finale, the road trip finale.
So I know it's a bad night when you choose J.A. Happ.
I didn't do that. Delaire, come on now.
The opposing pitcher who went 5 innings. You know it's a bad night for the A's when we.
Well, I like.
But you're right. It's a group decision. Guys in the truck decide.
You know, your suggestion was the best. Steve Vucinich, because he wasn't here.
That's right. He's enjoying his daughter's graduation from Gonzaga University in Spokane. So.
DeVos. Joe Bible.
Joe Bible it is. So Bible to face Simeon, Reddick, and Butler here. 9th inning, A's down by 5. Outside, 1-1. So Bible is pitcher number 6 tonight. It includes Happ. Rays player of the game.
Was it?
I know. Simeon makes the turn, so he's aboard. It's going to be a hit. So Simeon is 3 for 4. Kind of a cue shot, but he was going to beat that out.
3 for 4 and a walk. So Bible, a little funky delivery. Backdoor cutter off the mound. Mishandled by Taylor. Was not going to throw him out. Going to try to quickly catch it and throw it.
That may have had a little English. So Reddick steps in. He's 0 for 3 with a walk. Everything is fine on Major League Baseball. Well, the Rockies got postponed again due to bad weather with the Dodgers. Rockies have had 3 postponements this week. So they'll be making up games at a later date.
Dodgers okay because that's 3 trips they'll make since they're in the same division. But
Reds and the White Sox got rained out yesterday, so they played a doubleheader today. That's an interleague game.
Exactly.
So they were able to make that up today. These 2 teams split the doubleheader. One and one to Reddick. He struck out a couple times. He's walked and he's hit a fly ball to left field. He was not in full agreement with Phil Cuzzy back in the 7th inning. In fact, they had a few words for each other. Pop up. Cano out. And Cano grabs it. Reddick 0 for 4. And that's the first out here in the 9th inning, and that'll bring up Billy Butler. Butler had an RBI hit in the 5th inning. Jesse Chavez and Felix Hernandez tomorrow. Cano charges and he'll get the sure thing. So Simeon now at second, but 2 outs as Beimel tries to wrap it up. And it'll be Mark Canha. Canha homered in the 8th inning. He's 1 for 4. He's post-game live coming up. Good pitch there by Beimel, in for a strike. So the A's 1 out away from their 4th consecutive loss. Lost the final 2 games in that series in Minnesota. Lost last night. Morrison hustling down the line, and he cannot quite get it. Gave it a good effort. Getting his wind sprints in. It's not easy, though, to run wind sprints when you're looking up over your head.
Kyle Seager did it last night.
That's hard to do.
He did a good job last night making a similar play.
So 0-2 the count. Canha takes that one low. The home run for Canha was his 5th of the year. He's now got 5 homers, 15 RBIs.
Pretty good season for a rookie also.
Indeed.
He's a Rule 5 player and really handling himself like a veteran. Not that he's a rookie. And
I would not say that he's looked overmatched at the plate.
No.
And that's a credit to Mark Canha.
Well, and I think somebody like that who is not overmatched in his rookie season, facing pitchers he's never seen before, which you tend to believe he's going to only get better and better as he plays at the level. We saw Nate Fryman, who, by the way, was activated, option to AAA. So Big Nate, who was similar to Mark Canha a couple of years ago, is Rule 5, stay with the club all year. Mark Canha may have found a home, not just a Rule 5.
Cano has it, fires to first, and that's the ball game. So Canha grounds out to end it, and game 2 of this series goes to the Seattle Mariners. So the A's will try to salvage the final game of the series tomorrow with Jesse Chavez